Oh! What's going on, guys? My name is Rose, or Captain Eutychus, and welcome to a brand new game, I guess you could say, here on the channel. We're going to be playing Our Life Forever and Always, which is actually a game recommended by my friend the Autumn Dryad. If you haven't seen them, go check them out. I'll probably leave the channel in the description below. But they actually introduced me to this VisNov. Well, technically the first thing I saw of it was like 3 days ago, but they've been talking to me about it for the last few months now, and they've been saying just how great of VisNov it is, and I'm getting ready to go and check it out for yourself. I do have all the DLCs for it. The VisNov itself is free, so if you want to download it, definitely check it out on Steam. Just, you know, you gotta pay like 18 extra bucks for all the DLC, which is pretty much just the expansions and soundtrack, and then you also got the voiced name option. That one's free. So yeah, let's get into this. And done. Oh, achievement unlocked. Your life. Summer in Sunset Bird was a special time of the year. Your usually sleepy town began to bustle. It was a popular tourist destination, with people coming from all over to enjoy the beach, the weather, and the relaxation that came from both. My door's not locked. There we go. Everything's still going right after getting up? Yeah, okay, we're good. It was a popular tourist destination, with people coming from all over to enjoy the beach, the weather, and the relaxation that came with both. The smell of the ocean, crisp and salty, hung in the air, bringing 3 whole months of schoolless vacation with it. During the summer, your moms didn't like you to wander off too far from the neighborhood, so you knew the area pretty well. That included the people. Families came and went from Sunset Bird, but they mostly stayed and did what your mom called putting down roots. They built businesses, they got to know each other, and definitely said hello to the nice young folks who waved at them when passing their stores. Going for a walk around town mostly meant that the familiar, friendly residents waved, or asking how your family was, or most often just said hello. Okay, so this I'm gonna be basing this off of me growing up, because right now in the story we are 8 years old, from what Autumn said. So we'd have to respond how we would at 8 years old. Me, I loved saying hi to a lot of different people, whether they were tourists or not. But then again, I'm from Indiana, a little rural town in Indiana. We don't get a lot of foot traffic unless your people are coming by to visit the lakes. And all these pretty much apply to me growing up. When I was at home, I was too anxious to say hi to pretty much anybody, but when I was outside, I was saying hi to everybody. So, I'm gonna go with the middle one for now. Oh yeah, so each one of these, the colors mean different things. So like this one, it means you're like unsure about an option, like you don't know what you want to do with it. This one is direct to the point. Yes, you didn't get one of them, but you saw it. They saw you every day, but you nodded at them anyway. Yeah, just direct. And then this one's more emotionally charged one, which I feel like I would go with when I was 8. You enjoyed learning all about where they were visiting from and hoped to visit those places one day too. But today, there was a man sitting on the curb outside your house. He was sitting with his head in his hands, his whole body slumped over, and wondering if he was a real person or a statue that had magically sprung up from the ground overnight. Whatever, or whoever he was, you had never seen him before. One thing about knowing everyone in Sunset Bird was that people who didn't really recognize really stood out. It was rare for tourists to venture into the residential district, as your moms called it. So for you, not knowing who a total stranger was set off a lot of red flags. Mom's had to talk with you and your big sister Lizzie about this kind of situation before. The airheaded response of, Thinking it's okay to talk to people? Run away feeling comfortable, or other types of people can help? I feel, see, I love talking to everybody, so I probably would have gone to this one, with this one. I can go with this one. But I weren't sure about this man yet. I would have been pretty interested why he was out in front of our house. There was a split second where your eyes met and you knew he was aware he wasn't alone on the street anymore. Hey! Raised an eyebrows at the shout. Did he want something? Is that why he was here? The man stood up and started making his way towards you. I wanted to be approachable. He has a grin of his own back. Do you live around here? What's your name? You look at the man up and down, taking in his tan skin and relaxing appearance. At least his clothes were relaxed. The way he was acting wasn't. He had sharks on his shorts and a stingray tattoo, and you wondered if he was obsessed with the ocean or something. Hey, that looks like a tattoo from Moana, now that I think about it. While you made your assessment, he looked at you very expectantly, waiting for an answer to his question. Great, nice to meet you, Rose. He gave you a broad smile, relief settling on his face. Why are you giving me a $20 bill? He reached into his pocket and pulled out a clean $20 bill, crinkled it in his hand as he held it up to you. Even more confused than before, you looked back at him. Could you do me a favor? Could you do me a favor? Nothing bad. Sorry, I should have... Let me start over. He cleared his throat instead of straighter. From where you were standing, it just made him look creepier. I have a son. His name is Cove, who's about your age. It seems like a strange name for an actual living person to you. You chewed on the inside of your cheek. The guy was definitely obsessed with the water. You thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, he wasn't the only person like that in Sunset Bird. We moved in across the street. See? He gestured towards the house that had been empty for a year, his watch catching the late afternoon sunlight and reflecting off the walls. The gigantic "for sale" sign was finally gone. You must be Rose Harvick, right? I met your moms earlier, and they told me you were 8, just like him. So, he shook the $20 bill to bring it back to your attention, a hopeful smile tilting his lips at the corners. Can you try to be friends with the boy? Just give it a chance, and you can keep this. He's a good kid. You'll like him. But you gotta keep it a secret too, okay? It wouldn't be friendly to say his dad sent you. I would have felt sorry for Cove. It definitely wasn't the normal way kids made friends. You knew that. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm part of the generation that is too old to be Gen Z, but too young to be millennials. So, I grew up like a millennial on the streets. My mom would basically say at 10 a.m., get out of the house and go play with your friends. And don't come back until the streetlights come on. And so, that's what I grew up doing. And I made friends with all the other kids in the area, and we all had a fun time on the weekends playing in the parking lot across the street. And in the winter it was especially fun, because we would be pretending like the giant snow mounds that were left over from snowplows was like Mount Everest or Mount Kilimanjaro, and we would be climbing those in our little boots and snow pants and coats and hats and scarves and gloves that our moms made us put on. We would be scaling the peaks of the highest mountains, never to be seen again. And there would be times when my boot got stuck in the snow, and I would have to rush back to my house, crying to my mom that my boot got stuck in the snow mountain. This was like 12 years ago. I am 21 right now. I kid you not, I am 21. What do you say? Want to make a deal? See, I didn't want the money. I just want to go see the guy. I would have just wanted to be friends with the kid. I didn't care if I was getting paid. I don't want to be paid for that. It's too weird. He fitted enough to notice, but not completely.
Are you sure?
It won't be so bad. Even if it's just for the summer, that'll be enough. That made this sound more strange to you. What does it lasting for the summer matter? When it was clear his initial idea wasn't going to fly, he tucked the bill in his back pocket and changed the request. I get it. You don't have to. Would you be comfortable with he and I coming by for a normal visit? No money involved. I want to meet him. His smile got bigger again. His eyes crinkled at the sides. Aww. See, he may have come across creepy at first, but he's genuinely just a father trying to do something nice for his son, and I like that. I'll bring him by tomorrow. I wanted to meet and greet with the neighbors today, but, well, I don't know where he's gotten off to. He laughed when he said that. By the way his face looked, you thought he actually wanted to cry. If you see him, can you tell him to come home? He's got a pink cast and glasses. You can't miss it. Sure thing! This definitely wasn't the normal way kids made friends. You knew that, but you were still going to help him. The man smiled and reached out to pat you on the head, paused before doing so, then pulled his hand away instead. Your mom's already checking around for me. Such a thoughtful group you are. Now I better go look too. Can't put everyone else to work while I keep sitting here. I thought he might come back and... That's not important. I have to go. Thanks again, Rose. So much. He jogged off down the street without another word. He decided to check the hills behind your house. Step 1. First sight. The chirping crickets in the tall grass greeted you, quiet and familiar. See, this is exactly what it... If you can hear this, this is exactly what it sounds like in the summers by the lakes where I live. Complete with the bugs and everything. Like, if you go camping, if you go to the campgrounds by the lake at that in our town, you can hear this. And it's probably one of the most relaxing things to hear when you're camping. Just now I want to go camping again, damn it. I want to go camping again. But COVID and all that and work and driving and delivering pizzas and blah. From the top of the hill, you could see the ocean. As you walked, you listened to the crash of the waves on the shore and the seagulls squawking as they settled down for the night. This sounds most like me. It's either you always loved the ocean, it was so much fun. You love to hear stories about the sea, about the merfolk and the sea serpents you imagine living far beneath the waves. This was my actual thinking as a kid. I always had a hyperactive, not even as a kid, just nowadays, I have a hyperactive imagination. And I love imagining like these little scenarios in my head where, you know, it's heroes and villains, or just D&D parties, or merfolk and far beneath the seas in the Mariana Trench, because we can't explore that just yet. We don't have the tech to explore down all the way down there, but that's the perfect hiding place for merfolk. Like, we know more about the space than we do our own oceans. Do you realize how scary that is? Like, think about that. We haven't even explored 100% of our own planet. All the spots that are land masses, we've traveled. Hell, we've put men on the moon, but we haven't fully discovered everything in our own oceans. That is terrifying, but also exciting, because that means so much more that we can learn about our own planet. And I love that. Learning so much about our planet will help us better in helping to find out what all we need to do to keep our planet surviving. And I love that! Off topic though, back to the story. Yes, this one. Sometimes you could almost convince yourself that you had seen a flash of a shiny mermaid's tail in the distance. You took in a deep breath. You wanted to try and relax and couldn't. You weren't sure about what, but something told you weren't alone. So you glanced around. There was a boy sitting on the top of the hill, almost completely hidden within the long grass and white flowers surrounding him. Oh, this music. This music is amazing. His head was buried in his knees, staring at himself. For whatever reason, probably just that he wasn't paying attention, he hadn't noticed you yet. You watched him a minute longer, feeling a little bit like you found a deer in the wild. Though deer didn't have... what would I noticed about him? First. So you had a sad frown, pink cast, huge glasses, wavy eyebrows, or green hair. Personally, I probably would have noticed his sad frown because I've always been able to pick up on the way people are feeling. So I could just looking at him, I could just see his frowns. But this new boy did. You wondered what could have upset him. After a few more seconds, you stepped forward, then another. Then he glanced your way. His aquamarine eyes reflected the light of the moon. You stopped, raising a hand to acknowledge him and show you weren't scary. Oh yeah, are you lost? Hi. Hey, Space Cadet! He jumped to his feet, his hands balling into fists at his side. He didn't say anything, just stared at you in a strange way. He'd been crying. There were traces of tears on his cheeks and his knees, soaking the hem of his shorts, and his eyes were still shining with a few more. You'd obviously caught him off guard. His pink cast seemed to glow in the twilight, and when he caught you staring at it, he hid his arm behind his back. Something that Marilyn earlier had said stuck out to you. Cove? Eyes wide, he studied you. How'd you know that? Given the whole, hey, Space Cadet, I probably would have said I'm all-knowing. That's a lie. Tell the truth. Okay. Your dad told me who you were. So, this is your hill? He gestured with his uninjured arm to the patch of grass surrounding you, his face falling at the prospect. I can leave if it is. You can't own a hill. Why not? How could you? You just do. I had a hill back home. Well, this still isn't mine. Oh. He sat back down with a thump, resting his chin in his knees again. Curious about the strange new boy with the odd dad, he sat on the patch of grass next to him. The pure white flowers that covered this hill rocked back and forth, gently as the stars twinkled above. The way they dotted the sky made them seem like flowers, too. The night wind was as cool as it traveled over the ocean and up the hill, chasing away the heat from the afternoon sun. Ooh. Crud. Both of these seem really rude. Because on one hand, he's obviously been crying, meaning he's upset about something. And that could mean that he's upset that his family moved. On the other hand, while you're here, sounds like, so, why are you here and how soon can you leave? That's what that sounds like to me as an 8-year-old. Because all the 8-year-olds I've met, they are all extremely sassy, but I probably would have been with, why'd your family move? A quiet hiccup escaped Cove as soon as you asked the question. Almost like they'd never stopped, his tears started up with a vengeance. My parents, they don't want to live together with me anymore. The tears fell fast and heavy over his flushed cheeks. sticking in his dark lashes. So his parents got divorced. My mom made my dad leave and he took me with him, and now we have a house here and I want to go home. The outburst caught you off guard. By the time he was done wailing, Cove's chest was heavy with exhaustion. He sniffled and removed his glasses, wiping his eyes with the back of his hand before he'd put them back on again. I hate this place. I want my real life back. I want my mom. Your dad seems kinda nice. He slipped his hands underneath his glasses and pressed his fingers against his eyelids. Cove wound himself up again for another long crying fit. It must be hard for Cove, living here without his mom. But at least he still has a parent who cared about him. But far off in the distance, here's your parents. Rose! Kids, where are you? Cove looked at you, tears still clinging to his cheeks. Don't tell them we're here.
I want to go home.
I don't want to go back to that house. I want to go home. It'll be okay. You were struck by a sudden need to reassure Cove. It's not gonna all be fun, but isn't he your family too? Yeah, I guess. Then you can count on him when you really, really need him. You shout and grin and push yourself to your feet. Slowly, Cove stood up with you, still looking a little reluctant. His dad's voice rang out again. Cove, can you hear me? He looked towards the sound of his dad's voice, silent, then turned away while rubbing his not-bandaged arm. Sorry. I still don't want to go. I'm gonna wait silently with him. Yeah, I get it. You do? Before you could answer, you heard Cove's dad, even closer than before. There you are, bud! The trio of parents appeared over the curve of the hill. Instantly, all their eyes landed on you when they rushed over. Oh, there's my mom's. So I'm glad they're putting in a lot of LGBT inclusivity, because in the character creator, you have the option to make your character look however you want. Give them whatever pronouns, give yourself whatever pronouns you want, whatever name you want as well. Also customize it to either how you want your character to look or how you want to look, which I genuinely really like. And also, before you make a character, they give you this whole tutorial, which a lot of VisNovs don't do. Basically saying that they want to make this experience as comfortable for the user as possible, which I genuinely really love. Because unlike some games, Doki Doki Literature, they don't give you a tutorial and they kind of force you into stressful situations without knowing what you want to do. From what I hear, this game doesn't do that, which I genuinely like. Both your moms are at your side in a split second. Faces filled with worry. Rose, you're here after all. We had all been to the park to check for Cove and then heard what happened earlier when you met the new neighbor. I thought you might have gone off further away. Cove didn't want to go home just yet. Mommy gave Cove a small smile, and then she turned back to you. Thank God you're both fine. You two are having fun out there? You looked over at Cove, who was wiggling in against his dad's tight hug and pushing at his arms. Yeah, we've all been there. Already? You only just met the boy. Yeah, I like him. You nodded, smiling slightly. Trying letting go of his squirming, scowling son, Cove's dad turned to the three of you. Thanks very much for finding him. I really don't know this neighborhood. Good thing Rose knows this whole area so well. Absolutely. We should be getting home now. It's been a long day for all of us. Say goodbye, Cove. Oh. The two of them walked off into the darkness, headed towards the neighborhood. You watched Cove's bright pink cast until it disappeared. Tell you what, we'll have a proper play date tomorrow, okay? New friend's dad wants to bring him over to spy to see you and Lizzie. How does that sound? Can I show him my stuff? Then okay! Both their moms laughed, hands overlapping into a warm, familiar chorus. Mommy put her arms around your shoulders and led you towards the path. Aww. Satisfied and more than a little ready to go to bed after your long, exciting day, you followed them home. Choose your feelings with Cove. This is how you feel towards Cove at this step. You can change it in later steps. Alright. And we'll save, do the first save. And ready. You won't be able to change it again until step 2. Yep. I'm glad they added in this feature. Achievement unlocked. Childhood friendship. At the breakfast table the next morning, you finished your food faster than usual. Your sister Lizzie had run out earlier to go play, but you'd stayed put. Today, just like your mom promised, Cove was coming over to hang out. Excited to see your new friend again, Rose? Yeah, I am. Achievement unlocked. Relaxed. I'm so happy he moved in. Okay. With that said, are you done with your breakfast? I probably wouldn't have said anything. I would have been like, Good job. He should be here soon. Cleanup began, and then, on cue, there was a knock. It was hesitant, like a person wasn't sure they were in the right place. Still loud, though. We need to get a more obvious doorbell. I know. Rose, could you get it? Wriggling out of your chair without really pushing it back, you made your way to the door. Hey, Harvick family! Thanks for having us. Mr. Holden, as your moms have called him, and his son were here. Cove looked different in the bright lighting of your living room, and when he wasn't crying. With his dad standing in front of him, and Mom and Mommy's behind you, and Cove's looking at each other. Pleased to see your new friend again. You smiled at Cove. You smiled back with some hesitation. Threaded crystal with flower. I personally would have had either a shell or a flower bracelet. I'm gonna go with flower bracelet. Let's go play in my room.
Okay. Take care.
Let us know if you need anything, you two. Have fun, kids. See you later, son. Play nice. You led him to your room, puffing out your chest a little bit in the sight of your treasures. There was lots of stuffed animals, a cool bed, and a window to look out. See, that was the thing. I had more stuffed animals than I knew what to do with. And then my parents decided for me that I didn't need stuffed animals anymore, so they gave them all to my younger brothers when they came around. Now I only have like 2. I've got my little Eevee that hangs out on my desk, and Snuffleupagus that hangs out on the floor over there. You can't see Snuffy, hold on. Let me go with Snuffy. This is Snuffleupagus. He protects the floor from invaders. It was a great room. I hadn't had anyone to show it to in a while, but you were really proud of it. Come in a little closer to one of your drawings on the wall. I like this. I drew that. Cool. You smiled at him. You were proud of that particular piece of art, and you were glad he had noticed. You turned to look around the room a little more, studying the books on your desk and the pictures on the walls. See, knowing me, that would have been stuff like Percy Jackson, Harry Potter, Hunger Games, Dauntless, Matched. Not Dauntless, Divergent. Dauntless is one of the factions in Divergent, I think, right? Oh, I know, it's like Amity, Erudite, Dauntless. Oh, what's the other one? Abnegation, that's what it is. You can tell I haven't read Dauntless in a very... You can tell I haven't read Divergent in a really long time. The atmosphere was definitely a bit awkward. You wanted to say something, but didn't know what, so you just let him keep looking. Then his eyes landed on a tiny box of beach things you collected, tucked away by your door. He took a step towards it, before hesitating and pointing at it instead. What's that? A hoard of stuff I found on the beach.
Oh.
Do you have any driftwood in there? Dragging the box in the middle of the room, you and Cove flop down next to it. I think so. Yeah, see? You just see a piece of the bottom, still covered with specks of sand.
Neat.
Neat. This is a good collection. You got a sense from his tone that he wasn't just saying it to be nice or to be like Shiloh. He actually meant it. Oh, right. I almost forgot. Shiloh was going to be here today. Shiloh? Liz's friend. Or, like, her #1 fan, I guess? Do I have to see him? It should be okay. I mean, he's Liz's friend, not mine. But, you know. Come on. Let's go check out my shell some more. I found this one under a big piece of seaweed that I washed ashore, and you put out seashell after seashell explaining where you'd gotten each one and holding them up against the light. There were big ones, small ones, pink, purple, and orange. Most of them washed off in the bathroom sink when you brought them home, cleaning off the sand. Funny stories. I always like the funny stories. Apparently fascinated either by the stories or by the shells themselves, Cove listened and looked with what looked at the full force of his attention. Like when you almost got pinched by a hermit crab while searching for shells, and after watching him scuttle back to the ocean, you found another empty shell that was almost a twin to his home. It was a new experience to be the center of such dedicated focus. But Cove hadn't been mean to you, so he didn't mind. You smiled at him every now and then while showing him your collection. Kids, come down to the living room. You could tell the idea was making him happy, but Mommy wasn't giving you much of a choice to hang around. Yeah, parents. Cole have been like this meeting you. You guessed it was because he thinks you found each other by accident, not by a parent making it happen. Mr. Holden must be right by that telling Cove his dad was part of that would be a bad idea. Before you knew it, you'd both been escorted downstairs and deposited in the living room, ready for Shiloh's visit. The two of you sat side by side on the floor of your home's entryway. I brought the box of shells. I want to keep looking at them. Okay, but be careful. I will. You weren't sure if you could trust someone with your treasures yet, so you stayed next to him while he opened the lid and peered inside. Cove reached in and pulled out a big orange shell. Oh! Like he hadn't spoken aloud yet, he turned to you and held it up, his eyes shining. I think this is the best of them! That's my favorite too! Cove smiled at you as you both admired the shell together. It was a giant conch that with shades of dark and light orange. He held to your ear. You could practically hear the ocean. I found that one last summer when we went to the beach on a picnic. The two of you were still sitting on the floor looking through your collection of beach finding when the doorbell finally rang. Cove jumped, startled by the sound. As the person hadn't knocked yet, you figured it was probably Shiro. He knew where to look for that. Lizzie's friend? You nodded, but that didn't seem to make Cove feel better. It was already obvious that Cove didn't hide his feelings well. You could tell that what he was thinking right away. This isn't a good idea. You'll be alright. He's here. We can't tell him to leave. He's at our only door, and if you go upstairs, he'll find you. Cove glanced around the room, his eyes wide, and finally paused with his gaze locked onto the back of the house. I can go out the window. He was already walking towards it, scrambling to think of something to say. He stepped forward, then paused. Good idea. Let's go. Hurry! Hurry! Let's see where we're going. He glanced back at you, then nodded. The two of you made your way to the window together. It wasn't much of a much of a distance to clamber out, but by the time you landed gently in the grass, you looked to see that Cove was already taking off away from the house. He was fast, but he knew you could outrun him if you had to. Cove! You went as fast as your legs would take you, grass whipping around your ankles as you did so. I used to love doing this at the parks, as where I grew up. There was a few parks that you go to, and depending on the park you went to, you could either go to the one with a mile-long walking trail where the kids could run around in the grass, or like roll down the hill in the snow, and in the winter you could take your kids sledding there, and it would be so much fun. And the feeling the grass whipping around your ankles if you're wearing like flip-flops is one of the best feelings as a kid. Cautiously, Cove slowed to a halt and looked back at you. Where are you going? I don't know, somewhere else. I just don't want to see Rose! You looked back and saw Shiloh huffing down the hill after you. The backpack he clutched bouncing all the way along. What are you doing? Can I come? He must have seen you leaving out the window and follow behind. Oh, hi! Are you Cove?
Yeah.
I'm Shiloh. Okay. Yep, are we going back, or are we gonna play outside? Shiloh's face moved between you and Cove, the smile remaining strong on his face. It got a tiny frown from Cove in response. You were just grateful he hadn't asked you why you had been running away. Inside, we left the box on the floor. Right, my shelves and stuff. We have to make sure they're okay. While Shiloh trailing behind you, you and Cove headed back toward the house. The plan for the afternoon, at least as far as you were concerned, was to sit and look at beach things some more. You weren't really in the mood to do much of anything else, especially if Cove wasn't having fun. Hey, check out the scallop shell I found. Cool, right? It's a pretty color, kinda like my cast. The beautiful glittering pink did look a bit like the wrap around his arm. Pink is a nice color. Okay.
Oh?
Is it your favorite? Not really. What is? Maybe green. Or blue. It might be yellow. Oh, those are all cool.
Yes.
I like those colors too. Both of them smiled. Aww. Like usual, it didn't take long for Shiloh to get fidgety. Lizzie was his favorite. Without her around, Shiloh didn't seem to know what to do with himself. And Cove wasn't like your sister. He wasn't that much like you either. Is Lizzie coming back? Don't know. Aww. Where'd she go? I think she's at the beach, probably. Is she playing at the park? Cove's eyes lit up at the mention of the park, and he looked towards you. There's a park? Yeah, but it's old. Can you show me? I want to go. He started getting up before you'd even answer, and Charlotte jumped up beside him in excitement. Really? You do too, right, Rose? The park is fun. The park is pretty great. Yeah, it's right at the beach, so there's lots of fun stuff to do, and lots of sand. And there's a jungle gym and a bunch of swings. That sounds like it could be cool. So, are we going to find Lizzie? Oh no. I never really wanted to see her. I just want to check the park out. Whew. Adrift without any direction, Shiloh finally turned to you. Okay. He perked up. Both boys wanted to go. It was only fair. After gaining permission from her moms, the three of you were ready to head out. It was a short walk to the park. Lizzie had convinced her moms that it was so short she could always be allowed to walk there by herself. When you found her, she was hanging on the jungle gym, swinging back and forth. Hey, Lizzie! Her face lit up when she saw you. Her big brown eyes were going wild. Rose! Shiloh! Hi! She dropped to the ground and landed with a soft thud on the sand. In a split second, Shiloh had abandoned you two and scrambled over to the sand by her. You were used to being left out when it was just the three of you. But now, Cove was here. You wondered if he would leave too. Who's that? It's Cove. He's new. I remember. Hi, Cove. Welcome to my park. Nobody ever comes here to play, so this is where we get together. She dashed her widely to her arms as if to present the area to the newcomer. Without interrupting Lizzie's speech, Cove was your ear, quiet enough so the others wouldn't overhear. I thought kids couldn't own places like parks. Or hills. You couldn't help but laugh a tiny bit. Yeah, I would too. While Lizzie continued talking, you took a chance to kick off your shoes and wriggle your toes in the warm sand. Nice, huh? In this neighborhood, I'm the one who comes up with the ideas. You are? Yeah, I am. Who else can handle the job? Lizzie's the oldest. By a lot. My mom said you're Rose's age.
Yeah.
Thought so. I'm still the only one in the group with double digits. So, that means the way she looks, I would say she hasn't hit puberty yet. So she's only like 10. And if we're only 8, I don't know. Other kids? There aren't any. We're the only kids here in Shiloh. We're only kids here in Shiloh just visiting from another place. Not even tourists really bring their kids here. This is the land of the ancients. Be careful that the oldies don't try to steal your youth. For a second, it looked like he might cry again. Something in his eyes shifted, and he looked back at Lizzie. What kind of old people? Like moms and dads or grandparents? Grandparents who don't have kids. They hate kids. Why? We haven't done anything. Stop saying stuff like that. You're gonna upset him. You interjected quickly, hoping Cove wouldn't start crying again. He sniffled, his forehead creasing with worry. Lizzie was staring Cove down, but Cove wasn't looking at her anymore. He didn't seem to care that she was there. He went into his own head. Shiloh was the next one to speak, completely unaware of the situation. Yep, that sounds about right. I met Lizzie and Rose in school. You'll see a ton of kids there when summer is over. I don't want to go to no school. I don't want summer to end. Shiloh looked down at the dirt. He hadn't had much luck striking up conversations with Cove. I like summer vacation a lot too. All the building tension there suddenly vanished when Lizzie laughed. At Shiloh's discomfort, and at how weird she thought the Cove was, at something else entirely, you didn't really know. But she laughed and face scrunched up. Welcome to Sunset Bird Cove. Take a seat, pull up your feet, and get used to it. Rob him a small smile, and that, at least, looked to reassure himself. For the rest of the summer, Cove was always there. You saw him more often than Shiloh, and on some days, when she was in a bad mood or busy, you even saw him more than Lizzie. He became a staple of your everyday life, the way the sun and lunch and the beach were. During your first summer together, you really liked Cove. He was a fun person to play with, and he seemed like playing with you too. Of course, that was only the start of things. So these are all the things that I have unlocked. These are all the different scenarios that you choose. You can either choose the shop. These are all the ones that aren't DLC. These ones I had to buy. So stuff like shopping, growing up, grown-ups, a long day, building sandcastles, or catching fireflies. I miss catching fireflies in the backyard as a kid. Going out there with your hands and jars with little holes poking them out so that the fireflies could breathe. Dang. I want to do all these, and then we'll get the DLCs to go over with. So, shopping. Come back before I can start. Go right, sport. The familiar voice drifted across the street and drew your attention away from the snail you've been watching inch slowly across the pavement. Yep, that is definitely 8-year-old pastime before video games. Cove waited in front of his dad, pushing his green hair back off his face from where the breeze was blowing it over his glasses. It looked to be paying only a mild amount of attention as he was being handed a few slips of green paper. It reminded you of when you first met Mr. Holden, although he's probably not paying Cove to be friends with himself. Cove sensed to feel your gaze somehow, or maybe you made a noise, because a second later his eyes were on you. He waved you over with a smile. He looked happy to see you, but you still felt a little awkward getting caught. You gotta learn how to be more sneaky. You gotta increase that sneak scat, right? You push your hands together to free them of sand, and jogging over to join the two, smiling at Cove first, and then his dad. Rose, hi! Good to see you again. What excitement are you up to today, Rose? Taking a walk. I found a pretty cool snail across the road. There's lots of snails around here. Mr. Holden grinned at you kindly. Wait. After you finished answering the question, Mr. Holden's attention returned to Cove, who was preoccupied with folding the bills he had into a tiny rectangle. Sounds like fun. You know, Cove was about to hit the stores by the beach. Why don't you go with him? You gave him a ready nod, turning to squint in the direction of the stores like you could see the goods that I had to offer all the way from where you were stood. Oh, is that okay?
Yeah.
I don't mind. Great, I'm sure you guys will have loads of fun. Mr. Holden reached into his pockets and pulled out a leather wallet with money. You found it odd since your mom's only ever seemed to have cards in theirs. Here. He leaned in to pass a crisp 10 to Cove, giving him a wink and a whisper. Get something for your friend, too. Sure. That's my boy. Cove's eye ruffles his suned hair, and as he straightened back up, the bill in his hand, still out towards the green-haired boy. Take care. Cove accepted the bill after a second and slipped it into his pocket. Then, with one last nod to his dad, he turned and started walking. He followed him, intrigued at the possibilities this outing might bring. Cove strayed towards the gentle tide creeping up the sand, and you fell in place behind him. It was a nice day, and the sun was shining, and there wasn't many clouds in the sky. And there wasn't a cloud in the sky. I had to, I'm sorry. We gotta talk about Bruno. Though the wind coming off the ocean kept it from being too hot. You took a deep breath, enjoying the scent of salt in ocean air. When you looked at Cove, he was dragging his feet to the sand a little, and you slowed down to wait for him. His eyes searched the ground intently. Are you looking for shells? Cove startled a little at the sound of your voice and mumbled, sort of. If you see anything, you can let me know. You can manage that. You dropped your feet to the sand, walking carefully so you didn't step on any. You were good at finding shells. You had a lot of them at home and always found new ones whenever you visited the beach. A comforting sound of the waves filled the silence with pleasant white noise. And you played a little game with yourself as you walked along, getting closer to the water as possible without getting wet. It resulted in you having to run up the sand quickly when the waves rushed more than a few times, and although Cove glanced his way, he didn't say a word. What'd you want to go to the shops for? I need a new sand pail. Yeah? What happened to your old one? Cove narrowed his eyes, seeming to think deeply for a second. It disappeared. What? Really? Cove knocked his head down, lacing his fingers behind his back. It didn't seem like he was going to continue, so you nudged his arm. How did that happen? Well, Cove opened his mouth, then shut it again, considering. I took it to the beach one day. Uh-huh. When I got home, it wasn't anywhere. You left it there? Nope. It wasn't at the beach when I went back. Then you lost it. It disappeared. What about you? What do you do out here? Ooh. See, I feel like that part's a lie, seeing as I have a whole seashell collection. I do love swimming at the beach. I don't see a lot of the fish. Sandcastles are awesome, but nothing doesn't seem plausible for me. I generally do like to build sandcastles, and I like swimming. I'm swimming. Cove's lips curled into a small smile. Me too. It occurred to you that you hadn't been swimming in a while. There was just so much to do before school started up again, and so little time. Once you reached the shopping area, the noise level grew exponentially. No longer just waves and footsteps, but the clatter of people enjoying the lovely summer day. The call of birds trying to find bits of food left behind, and lots of salespeople trying to get attention. You sniffed the air as you walked beside the cove. You could still smell the ocean, but there was other scents now. pizza, pretzels, hot donuts. It's nice. I generally love bustling areas as long as it's like a controlled bustling area. It's like going out to a place like, what's it called? Ventura in California. You got the beach, but you also got the little like area where all the shops near the beach are. And I generally like that kind of area. It's like a controlled noise. But if it's a place like New York or Chicago, that's too much noise for me. Too much going on at once for me. The energy surrounding the area seemed to fill you, and there was a bounce in your step as you began looking at all the familiar sights. There were so many things to do, you didn't know where to begin. You looked at Cove, hoping he was just as excited as you were. Cove was glancing from one side of the street to the other with a look in. His aquamarine eyes that you couldn't quite work out. What's that? Cove pointed to a large crowd of people gathered near a few tables, with large, colorful umbrellas blooming in their middles. You couldn't see past the adults who were blocking the way, but you knew there was something worth seeing. Not another word. The two of you hurry over to see what all the commotion was about. Feast your eyes on the amazing Alexander! In the center of the crowd was a man with a tall hat and a funny green coat that had 3 long tails. There was a little table next to him with a cloth hanging over it that read, "The Amazing Alexander," in glittery golden script. Why tell the people his name if it's already on the sign? Cove hummed with understanding. Then he turned to walk away just as the Amazing Alexander began to shuffle a deck of cards. Maybe we could stay and watch? Cove glanced back at the man. Then he briefly lifted his arms up off his sides before returning him to his place. You grinned, waving for him to follow you as you raced back to stand in the crowd. With that, it began. The magic man pulled one card from the deck, showing it to curious onlookers. It was a 4 of diamonds. Watch closely! You did, squeezing through a few of the adult onlookers to get a better view. Suddenly the man snapped his fingers and the card just disappeared. Whoa! The missing Alexander, who'd earned his title, turned his head and looked directly at you. He reached out with a kind smile. What's this behind your ear? Nothing? It wasn't true. It was true. You didn't keep anything there. He smelled like popcorn and candy when he stepped closer, and you wrinkled your nose in confusion as you watched him. You felt a tug, then he pulled the 4 of diamonds out from behind your ear. Well, you knew that it couldn't really have come from your ear, but you still didn't know how he'd done it. There was a light applaud from the crowd, and the guy gave a deep bow. This is for you. The magician plucked a pair of balloons from a clump of them tied down to his table. Both were in the shape of a dolphin instead of being a normal circle. And one for your friend too. Thank you for being my assistant. Wow. Now you're really grateful he chose you. After that, he went to someone else in the crowd. Pick a card, any card. My uncle does that every time he visits. Not the balloons, the stuff with the cards. Cove spoke plainly while reaching over to take the dolphin that had been designated for him. I would wonder if Cole's whole family was magic. If so, he was lucky. The crowd started to clear some, and you noticed to the side that there was a whole rack of brightly discolored kaleidoscopes on display. Ooh. 8-ball Rubik's Cube or kaleidoscope. This guy all boils down to what I would have picked up as a kid. So as a kid, I would have picked up all 3 at once and be like, whoa, this is so cool. Take out the kaleidoscope, look through it, take out the Rubik's Cube and try to solve it, and we'd give up within like 20 seconds. Pick up the 8-ball and be like, Am I gonna be a Power Ranger one day? Yes, no, maybe so. Aw, dang it. Rubik's Cube. Ooh, these are cool. Will you hold my balloon while I look at this? Cove nodded, taking the balloon, holding it in the same hand as his own, so you could get a grip on the cube. You stood next to you and watched the attention to match the color rose. You managed to line up all the green squares on one side of the cube, but there were still 5 more sides to go. Deciding that it was something you should continue another time, you set the cube back on the rack and took your balloon from Cove, and who moved to the other side of the stall. He went under the awning, careful of his own floating dolphin, and you joined him. Are you having fun? He nodded and you smiled at him, happy to hear it. When Cove moved towards some stalls nearby, you followed beside him. Oh! While Cove looked at Stampills, you were drawn to a table with colorful keychains laid out on it. They were sewn in the shape of sea creatures, and there was a plaque that read, "Handmade," standing proudly in front. Those are awesome! You got a dolphin, you got sharks, you got crabs, you got turtles. Turtles! My favorite animal growing up was a dolphin. It still is one of my favorite animals to this day. Dolphins are just amazing, they're majestic, and they're so intelligent. My favorite animals are like wolf, penguins, and dolphins. Not specifically in that order, but like those three. Dolphins are still one of my favorite animals to this day. They've been my favorite animal for the last 20 years, and I absolutely love it. There are lots of different types. You saw a dolphin, a shark, a crab, a turtle. I'd pick up a dolphin, of course. Of course I'd pick up a dolphin. Your hand stopped on the dolphin, so similar to your balloon animal. It was made of a bright material that caught the sunlight when you picked it up. I remember once seeing a pod of dolphins swimming out in the distance at the beach, jumping out of the water and splashing as they dived back in again. That was a great day. I would have loved to see that. We're instantly enamored. Checking the price though, your heart fell. $6. You didn't know much about money, but you thought that was a lot to spend on one thing. You rarely had more than a $5 bill to your name. Is that what you want? Huh? Oh, it's $6. I didn't bring any money. It's fine. Are you sure? Cove took this keychain from your hands, and that was that. He's holding a small yellow bucket for himself, too. I was always gonna give you something. I already got the money for it. You smiled, pleased to have things work out. I realized that Cove's dad to let Cove buy something for you, too. You had to remember to thank him next time you saw him. After Cove paid, the two of you stepped out of the shore side by side, your balloon dolphins knocking together and spiraling through around in the air. You've watched Cove hold the new pail up to his face, examining it thoroughly. Hey, Cove. Yeah? I really like this keychain. Thank you. It's nice. Cove looked further down the street, where different food carts were lined up. He rested his non-cast arm over his stomach, and just as he did, yours let out a light growl. You hadn't eaten since breakfast, and after all of this wandering around, you were definitely ready for some lunch. Let's get some food. Yeah. You two wandered around a short while, looking at all the delicacies that were available. Everything looked delicious. And as the different smells, both sweet and salty, wafted over you, your stomach growled even louder. Great, now I'm hungry. And I have an extra large pizza sitting right next to me. After passing a hot dog, snow cones, ice cream, and pizza, you both agreed on pretzels. Cove got something sweet and cinnamon, and you... plain one... I would have gone with cheese. Because dipping pretzels in nacho cheese, especially ones that have the very noticeable salt, the ones that are that fall off the pretzel as you're eating it, dipping those in cheese is so just... I love it. You licked your lips hungrily as the vendor handed you your pretzel over, ready to take one bite. It was covered in gooey, melty cheese, just the way you liked it. It seemed odd to get a dessert pretzel just before eating normal food. You found an empty table close enough to the beach that the grit of the sand made terrible noises when dragging the chairs out to sit down. Those balloons are gonna make it hard to eat. Cove placed his bucket on the table. He started carrying his balled up hand that was wrapped around the string. You opened your mouth to agree, but before an idea hit you. I know! After carefully placing your pretzel somewhere it wouldn't get sandy, you tugged the balloon dolphin out of Cove's hand and tied it in a delicate bow around his wrist. Cove bounced his arm up and down, testing the stability of your knot, and after watching his balloon jostle around but remain attached, he smiled satisfied. Can you do it for me? He repeated the ritual. Cove struggled somewhat with the cast restricting his fingers on one hand, and a string already tangled around the other. Got it! The two of you spent a moment admiring your handiwork, both hands now free to allow easy munching of your pretzels. You bit into the doughy treat, savoring the taste on your tongue with a smile as you looked out over the ocean. After a time, you had finished your pretzel. You were done before Cove. It was boring not having anything to do. You pulled on the string of your balloon to bring it down to your level, then held the dolphin in your hands, manipulating it to make it look like he was jumping out of through the air. You returned to face towards the beak. It almost looked like he was swimming in the waves like a real dolphin. A laugh came from your side. When you glanced back at Cove, he had left the remaining part of his pretzel on the wrapper, and he was gripping his dolphin too. Merryweather, the Prince of Dolphins, Splash, they star in movies. Cherry, he's actually an alien, or Santa's regular dolphin. See, if you didn't say him Winchester, you could say he hunts underwater supernatural creatures like underwater vampires or underwater demons. Can you tell like supernatural? I would say Merryweather, the Prince of the Dolphins. He wears a crown made of seaweed and all his friends are merfolk. Every now and then he'll make friends with a kid and let him ride on his back. You sighed, wishing you could meet a real dolphin like Merryweather. What's yours? Cove considered the question, placing the balloon against the table and resting his arm across it in contemplation. It's... Without pop, the dolphin exploded into ribbons. Oh no! No! His balloon! My balloon! I'm having too much fun with this. For a second, all Cove did was gape in shock, like you. Then his cheeks puffed up, squinting his eyes, and you saw tears start to glisten. It... I'm gonna give Cove a balloon. I'm gonna give Cove my balloon. You could Cove, then up to your balloon, bobbing gently in the air to you. You can have mine. I was better than letting you cry more. Cove sniffled, glancing above the balloon, then back at you. No, it's yours. I don't want to take it from you. It's okay. Really. Cove shook his head. Even though it wasn't your fault, you felt bad. Still, the offer seemed to lift Cove's spirits, and that was good. Aww. Passing a Cove's balloon was the last major event of your adventure. In the end, the two of you headed back late that afternoon. You separated on the beach, and while Cove wasn't straight home with his brand new sand pail in hand, you decided to sit for a while. You watched the waves and the sunset, fiddling with your new keychain. Another summer day was drawing close. It had been a good one, except for that sad final note. Aww. I liked that one. That one was genuinely really nice. I liked that a lot. And then somewhere I did no. No, I'm not gonna do that. Alright. Grown up. One sweltering summer day, you were in your living room with Cove, listening to the sounds of the birds chattering outside the window while you lay across the rug on the floor. Cove's dad had dropped him off earlier, and your moms had left the two of you along with Lizzie to play amongst yourselves. It had been too hot to go outside in the afternoon, at least according to Mommy, so your sister was starting to get impatient waiting for a golf class that evening. The three of you had trouble finding something to do. The beach and the playground were off limits, and you felt it was too warm for anything like playing with your fuzzy toy animals. And suddenly, a light came to Lizzie's big brown eyes and her smile spread wide across her face. Having an idea gave her a new flow of energy. As for Stuck and Die, we should be adults. They don't play outdoors anyway. They're always inside telling everybody they're too busy to play.
Why?
Yeah, why? That doesn't sound like anything I'd do at all. When it was too hot outside, I'd mostly just sit inside playing with my stuffed animals anyway.
Duh.
I said why, and it'll be fun. Duh. What do you mean? What do they do inside that we don't? Besides use the phone a lot. Excluding a small huff, Lizzie decides to ignore Cove.
What do you think?
Wait. God, I don't want to... I bet we can come up with something else. Hold on, before we... I can't go back? Oh, I can.
What do you think? What do you think?
That's what I'm going to do, and it's not fun when I play pretend adults by myself. Do you do that a lot? What's it to you? Looking at Lizzie, it seemed Cove felt like he could understand where she was coming from, and he sighed. Do you really not want to play, Rose? It was clear he wanted some way out, but still felt guilty about it. I'll try it, but that sounds boring. It's not gonna be, I guarantee. Lizzie seemed more determined than ever, and you could only sigh. Satisfied that neither of you were about to bail on her, Lizzie thought over her options while you watched. After a few seconds, she clapped her hands together and beamed, apparently having settled on something without asking either of you. So I can tell she's gonna be a bitch when we grow up. She's already this sassy when she's 10, I hate to see what she's like when she's like 16. I'm gonna be a professional golfer. Rose, you and Cove can be a beach volley player, a gymnast, or a tennis player. Why can't we pick anything we want? Because I have a fun idea, that's why. And do we have to play sports as adults? Yep. But there's other kinds of sports too. It isn't the same. What do you think, Rose? Don't just show it sound super cool? You want to be that, huh? It really doesn't. Like, as a kid, I wanted to be a motorcycle racer, or an astronaut, or something like that. Now I want to be a teacher, but like, meh. About it, resting her hands on her hips and tapping her foot impatiently. Well, too bad. I made the plan and you're part of it, so choose one already. Cove was not impressed with Lizzie's attitude, though he didn't bother taking more about it for now. He thought over the list of possibilities: beach volley, gymnastics, or tennis. Out of all of them, you prefer to play... See, I was never good at any of these. I was never flexible to be in gymnastics. I wasn't coordinated to play tennis, and beach volleyball, I just sucked at. It's hard to maneuver around in the sand. And since I'm doing this like after me, I really don't know any of these. I guess volleyball. If you couldn't spend the afternoon at the beach for real, then you might as well pretend you were there. You could even wear your swimsuit to make it more realistic, although Lizzie probably wouldn't let you run off and do that now she had you here. Yeah, that was clearly the top option. Okay, I'm gonna be a volleyball player.
Alright.
I really don't like Lizzie. How about you, Cove? I'll have a volleyball team too. Lizzie threw her hands in the air, making an annoyed sound. You guys can't be the same thing. That's not how it works. Yes, it is! The stupid little 10-year-old? That's exactly how it works. You can have multiple who can be volleyball players too. You don't have to be something different when you grow up. You didn't say that. The rule was picking from the list. You can't keep adding more. Lizzie looked at the two of you, then shook her head, resigning to losing this battle, but not the war. Fine, you're both volleyball players, but you're on the same team because there's only one. Lizzie's ponytail bobbed when she proudly stretched her arms wide. The Olympic team! What? We're Olympic athletes who just competed in the Olympics. Cove didn't seem all that impressed with the announcement. He made a face and adjusted his glasses on his nose. That's really specific. That's what makes it fun. Anyway, not necessarily. Sometimes it's the vagueness and the broadness of the spectrum that, you know, makes it fun. Like, not all volleyball players participate in the Olympics, and not all golf. And I don't think golf is golf even an official Olympic sport? Hold on, I gotta look this up now. Is golf an Olympic sport? Are you kidding me? It is? Okay, but it's only been in there for the last 2 Olympics. Okay, I was like, golf isn't in the Olympics, is it? Because I've never seen golf in the Olympics. Then again, the 2020 Tokyo Olympics had to be postponed because of, you know, the Rona. Or as the Gringers put it, the Backstreet Boys reunion tour. That's what makes it fun. Anyway, Izzy marched back and forth in front of you, getting lost in their own imagination. When all gold medals, people are calling me the next Mickey Wright. Who the heck is Mickey Wright? Who is Mickey Wright?
Here's some information.
Mickey Wright, Mary Catherine Mickey Wright was an American professional golfer who played in the LPGA. What is the LPGA Tour? What is the LPGA Tour?
Here's what I found.
Association of Professional Golfers and female professional golfers in the United States. This is how little I know about golf. I have to look up on Siri about all this. Like, seriously. I have to look up on Siri for all these answers. I don't even fucking know anymore. Also, since we got here, what is the average airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow?
About 25 miles per hour for a European swallow. You have to know these things when you're a virtual assistant, you know.
About 25 miles per hour for an European swallow. You have to know these things if you're a virtual assistant, you know. Or, hey Siri, Lumos.
There's no one in your contacts named Lucas.
No. Lumos.
Okay, I've turned torch on.
Knox.
Okay, I've turned torch off.
Yeah, I'm also a Harry Potter nerd. I got Luna Lovegood's wand here. Because, why not? Oh, I'm gonna... Okay, I'm getting too sidetracked. Because I don't really want to play this level anymore. Now that I've actually, you know, seen it. Okay, well now I know who Mickey Wright is. Who's that? Oh! Lizzie stopped on the spot and turned on him, her brown eyes shining with impatience. It doesn't matter if you know who she is, it's a golf thing. You guys won medals too. Your team plays silver. It's more real life if we're not all first place. We can do better than silver. Rose is right. Lots of people lose the Olympics. Them's the breaks. I really don't like you, kid. You're only like 10 years old, but I really don't like you. You're ashamed of people who wear cat ear headbands. Then you're the one who did, not me. Lizzie looked taken aback at Cove's declaration, as though the thought of her losing was completely absurd. No way! It wouldn't make sense. I'm already practicing my golf game. She took a golfing stance to make her point, pretending to swing a club and hit an invisible ball. So what kind of house do you want to live in? Cove hadn't changed his mind about winning, but thinking about where he lives as an adult appealed to him apparently, because he looked back at Lizzie with some anger fading. I'm going to live on the beach. Lizzie made a face at him, poking out her tongue. That's kind of boring. We already have that. No, not like the normal houses on here on the street. On it, right in the sand, by the water. Just like that, all the tension was back. You hadn't even had a chance to choose where you want to live. That's not a very fun or smart, Cove. You can't live on a bunch of sand and shells. But I want to, and I will. Cove narrowed his eyes at Lily, even though she stood a half a head taller than him. You didn't want to give a list of things to pick from this time, so I'm picking that. Why are we even playing pretend if we can't imagine anything? Well, I'm gonna live in a mansion far away from here, and far away from you, with an indoor pool and a place to practice my award-winning golfing. How come you're really on mine when yours is even more impossible? Lizzie's face flushed red, her hands balling into fists at her sides. It is not impossible, and it's better than yours. Disagreements always seemed to crop up when the two of them were together. Now it felt like you were stuck in the middle. But when it came to the topic at hand, this time you thought, being on the beach is way cooler! Like, sure, every kid dreams of growing up and living in a mansion with like a $10,000 gaming setup, indoor theater, an indoor pool, and three different pools with a water slide connecting each of them. Bowling alley, large kitchen, a table big enough for you and all your friends to eat at. Bedroom as big as the house. But living on the beach is honestly appeals to me a lot more than living in a giant mansion out in the middle of the richest possible area. Who wouldn't want to live on the beach? It'd be really great. You could have windows made from driftwood and seashell wind chimes. Ugh. He smiled sadly over the agreement, then turned to Lizzie with bolstered confidence. You can swim whenever you want if you live on the beach. We can still swim anytime we want where we live now. Being a little closer doesn't mean anything. Says you. The two of them scowled at each other. You're being unreasonable. You. I don't get what you want. This game doesn't make sense. It does. You have to be realistic. I said that. But you're not. You have no idea what to do to make them stop at this point. It seemed like the two of them would just keep working each other up as long as they could. Nothing you said so far had kept them from being mad. Thankfully, like a greeting card angel, Mom walked into the room. Lizzie rushed to her, hanging on to the hem of her shirt and poking her tongue at a Cove. Lizzie! Rose! It's time to get ready to go. Sorry you have to leave early, Cove. Their mommy said she'll walk you home so you so you won't be left in the cold. Cove was staring at Lizzie, his face flushed red with anger. I can go by myself. But... Bye, Rose. A small harsh edge to the brief farewell, but he knew it wasn't you he was mad at. Without giving Mom a chance to stop him, Cove stood up and stalked out of the room, shoulders drawn tight. Okay? Mom turned to look down at you and Lizzie. You two were playing nice with this new friend, weren't you? I'm gonna tell the truth. I'm gonna rat out Lizzie. She was being a bitch. We were playing pretend and things got intense. They were like cats and dogs. Your sister's jaw dropped, looking betrayed. His mom put both her hands on her hips. Elizabeth! I told you to be kind to him. He's having a hard time right now. Lizzie's mouth closed back up, replaced with a tiny frown. I know. I tried, but he was... Nope. Oh, Mom put the mom pants on. Mom got to put on the mom face. No buts. We both know you can show someone a great time when you put your mind to it. We're going to apologize to Cove and his dad over the phone when he gets home from work tonight. Lizzie hung her head, dragging a foot across the ground in front of her. Okay, Mom. Good girl. He caught pieces of Lizzie sulking to herself about how it was his fault too, but it was over. Alright, we better get a move on. Let's go, kids. Milani, where'd you leave the car keys? Mom hustled all you out the door, and you noticed during the car ride to golf practice Lizzie was quieter than usual. She was usually the first one to request which music to listen to in the car, but she didn't say a thing. Her parents noticed she wasn't in the mood and to be bothered. They gave her space, and Mommy just asked you what you'd like to listen to. Your favorite song, it was Make Hours More Fun. You chose the soundtrack to a cool movie you saw a couple months ago. See, I don't like Lizzie, so the bottom option is off the table. I listen to different songs on repeat all the time. Whether it's from a movie or whether it's just a random song is up to me. Soundtrack. Eventually Lizzie came around and started singing along with you. She acted like she was a grown-up most of the time, but you knew she liked the movie too. When the car ride was over, you spent the twilight hour watching Lizzie hit things with other girls her age. You didn't know much about golf, but you could tell that she really liked it. So you sat with your moms and tried to puzzle it out. It was nice sitting outside after being cooped up all day in the house. And you stretched your legs to let the last few minutes of sun warm your skin. When the sun was finally out of sight, dipping behind the horizon, you all got ready to leave. Instead of going straight home, your mom took the family out to dinner. You went to a restaurant you all had been going to ever since you could remember. The whole afternoon had been a bunch of shouting you hadn't been able to stop. But you could kind of tell all this helped Lizzie be less angry. The car ride home was quiet, with only the radio providing escape from the silence. Lizzie had been in better spirits now. The closer you got to your neighborhood, the more she wriggled in her seat and frowned to get out the window. She knew what was coming when you all got home. Clearly, she was dreading it. Soon enough, Mom was turning onto your street, then reversing into the driveway. Once she cut the ignition... Once they cut to the ignition, it was all dead silent. No one spoke, only unbuckled their seatbelts and opened the doors. Lizzie was the last one out. Once everyone was inside and done taking off their shoes, she propped her head on her hands on her hips. Now then, Mr. Holden's car is in the driveway, so he should be back from work. That's good news, isn't it, Elizabeth? You and Cove can hash things out before the day's done. Lizzie didn't complain or put up a fight. Her head ducked so she didn't have to meet anyone's eyes. She nodded once. Good, let's move to the kitchen. Mom went over to the house. Wait, do we have a landline? I would love it if we had a landline, just to give more confusion to the 10 and 12-year-olds playing this game. Because I grew up with the landline in the house, so I know the struggles of having to untangle the cords. My brothers did not have that have the luxury of not knowing about those. So unless they saw it in the teacher's classroom, even then they probably weren't paying attention. Mommy put a gentle hand on Liz's shoulder as they walked side by side. You watched them from the back. This was only happening because you told on Lizzie. It was her fault. She was being an unreasonable little entitled. Bleh. You hadn't done anything wrong by telling the truth. It wasn't like Lizzie was going to say it on her own. The four of you stood around the kitchen in a lopsided square. All eyes were on Lizzie, who kept her gaze on her feet. You remember the number of Cove's house, don't you, honey? Lizzie jerked her head in another nod, sullen. Without further prompting, she stepped forward and began to dial. We do have a landline! Oh, that's not one with a cord. Boo. Mom reached over and pressed the button on the base. Suddenly, you could hear the phone ringing. She turned on the speaker. The phone rang a couple of times, then stopped. Mr. Holden's warm voice came through the other end. "Evening, Holden residence." Lizzie looked over at Mommy unsure. She nodded encouragingly. "Hi, Mr. Holden. It's, Lizzie. Can I talk to Cove?" "Lizzie Harbeck? What a surprise! But of course you can say hey to the boy." He sounded cheery as usual, though definitely meant it when he said it was a surprise. You thought hard, and you were sure that your sister had never called Cove's house before. Mom spoke up before Mr. Holden or Lizzie could say anything more. Her arms were crossed over her chest, her lips pursed. "Hi, Cliff. Noelani, Rose and I are here too." "Good evening. We're sorry to bother you so late." I would have said hi. "Hi, Mr. Holden." "The gang's all here, huh? Is something the matter?" His voice grew a bit concerned. Mommy was quick to reassure him. "No, well, yes, but it's going to be okay. Lizzie and Cove got into a bit of a fight today. We were hoping the two of them could talk and make up. Is this a good time for you and Cove?" "A fight?" Cove didn't tell me anything about that when I came home. It does explain the funk he's been in tonight. He chuckled lightly. Despite that, it didn't seem like he really thought of it was funny. "Anyway, it's good you didn't catch. It's good. You didn't catch us at a bad time. I'll go grab him for you." There was some shuffling on the other end. He must not have gone far because you could still hear him calling out. "Cove, there's someone on the phone for you." After a beat of silence, there was more muffled talking from Cove's dad. "Come on, bud. Cove just called just so she could talk to you. Lizzie called just so she could talk to you. Rose on the other end listening too. Don't you want to say hi?" It took a bit of back and forth, though the conversation seemed one-sided since you couldn't hear Cove properly. Eventually, Cove took the phone from his dad. "Hello? Hey, it's Lizzie." "Yeah, I know. Dad told me." Cove's tone was defensive. Lizzie turned to Mom, scowling. One certain look from her, though, and Lizzie turned away. "I just called to say I'm sorry for not playing nice with you today. I won't do it again." Lizzie's eyes were downcast, her voice low. You could tell she felt uncomfortable apologizing to Cove in front of everyone. She was still being genuine about feeling bad. Cove must have realized that too, because he sighed quietly. "Me and Rose should get gold too." "That's right." Lizzie kept denying that you two got what you deserved. Lizzie was momentarily stunned silent by the demand. She probably forgot that it happened already. "Alright, we all win the gold." "Okay. I guess I'm sorry too." A sense of relief washed over everyone at the acceptance of the apology. Mama uncrossed her arms, while Mommy's shoulders relaxed. Lizzie's eyebrows raised up. You wonder if she thought that he'd refuse her apology. "Dad, can I get off the phone now?" You couldn't see him, but it was obvious Cove felt awkward about the situation. He had come off uncomfortable the entire time, really. Yeah, just go. You can go back to your room if you want, but be sure to say goodbye first, though. Bye, Lizzie. Bye. Bye, Rose. He perked up to mention your name. He smiled even if you couldn't see it. Bye, Cove. Aww. With that said, Cove must have handed the phone to his dad and left since Mr. Holden spoke up. "All's well that ends well, as they say. Thanks for arranging this. I'm sure he appreciates it." As Mom replied, Lizzie tugged on Mom's hand to catch her attention. "Can I go now, too?"
Good job.
"Sure, sweetie. Thank you very much for apologizing to Cove." Mom flashed a brief smile at Lizzie and nodded in agreement. Given permission to leave, Lizzie scurried off towards the stairs. She seemed to be feeling much better with the incident behind her. Mom and Mommy returned to the phone, taking it off the speaker. They continued talking to Mr. Holden. You couldn't tell about what. You were glad that was the end of it all. Lizzie and Cove might not get along, and probably still don't. But they weren't mad at each other anymore. Mom and Mommy weren't upset either. And everything was finally back to normal. With that thought, you retreated to your own room with a spring in your step. Hold on. So we got these out of the way. Okay, then summer ended. I kind of almost want to get forward with this. I'll never get tired of that view. You stood beside your mom's, Lizzie, and Cove as the five of you watched the sun dip into the ocean somewhere far away. You like to imagine it was cooling off in the water, resting itself before getting ready to shine brightly again tomorrow. That was a fun day. I didn't know they had magicians on the shopping street now. Neither did I. Oh no, we are so dull. Let's get out more. You didn't do real magic, Mom. How'd you figure that one out? 'Cause I know. That's not what real magic looks like. Oh, Lizzie dear, there are all kinds of magic in the world. Lizzie gave Mom a suspicious look, but didn't dispute the claim. He looked over at Cove, who hadn't said a word since you started at home. He didn't look upset, though, just content. Or else you were aware you still hadn't quite warmed up to your parents. Well, we can't sit out here all night. I'm never home good cooking. Who's helping with dinner? Lizzie immediately let out with a groan. Mom, summer's almost over. The protest was obvious. You could practically see school on the horizon. You certainly didn't want to spend your last bits of freedom cooking dinner. You could do that any other day. Please, can we just play a little longer? I'll look down at you with a sigh, and you clasp your hands together and give your police function bell. Please! Please, Mom! We'll help with dinner tomorrow. You immediately nodded in agreement with the very clever offer, shifting closer to Lizzie since your parents can't possibly resist the power of you two combined. Soon we'll have homework and reading to do. We can't do work now, too. Lizzie made her case and then stomped her foot into the ground. You mimicked her. Oh, wait, hold on. Feeling that would add something to the argument. Well... Oh, come on, Pam. I can help you with dinner. Mommy leaned in for a hug, and you knew you were very close to victory.
Okay.
Alright. But as soon as dinner's ready, you lot are coming inside. Understood? Yes, Mom. Yes, Mom. Cove, dear, you're welcome to join us as well. You grinned at Cove and nudging his arm with your elbow. Cove gave a non-committal shrug to your mommy, which you took as an agreement. So much to do, so little time. Maybe I could... Yeesh. Maybe I could go get the seashell bracelet at times and trinkets. Ooh, or maybe go to the playground. Or the fireflies will be coming out tonight, right? Blends. Camera. No more webcam for the rest of this, I'm afraid. Lizzie had her own ideas what she wanted to do, but what were you gonna do? You glanced over to Cove, considering. A strong gust of wind made you shiver. Lizzie huffed as she wrapped her arms around herself. Doesn't the wind know that summer's not over yet? That's all Lizzie said before Buffy turning on her heel and heading off in the direction her mother had gone. Where are you going? I'm going to my room. I have lots to plan if I want to make the most of tomorrow. You thought this was over, looking off towards the water again. Lizzie didn't wait, and before long, she was disappearing off down the road. Meanwhile, Cove was going in the opposite direction, heading for the beach. I'm gonna follow Cove! I'm gonna follow my boy! I'm gonna follow my man! My man, Cove! Cove! Look at me, Shark Boy and Lava Girl! Cove gave you a small smile that you couldn't help but return. Cool. He made a little gesture that you interpreted as, follow me, and then started heading to the waves. Cove knelt down, picking up something you quickly identified as a smooth rock. He reared back his arm and tossed it onto the water. That was a good toss. That was pretty neat. What are you doing? Nothing, really. He tilted her head, wondering over the sudden pensive look on her face. Just thinking. About what? Cove was looking down at his cast, scratching idly at the pink surface when you thought you were pretty sure you couldn't feel it. His brows were furrowed and there was a frown on his face. I have to wear this cast for ages. I can't even swim. When do you get it off? Cove shrugged and didn't say anything. For a second you thought maybe he didn't know, but he finally sighed. A few weeks. That's not very long at all. It'll be off before you know it. He offered a smile, but Cove wasn't looking at you. Cove let out a puff, flopping down in the sand. I can't believe summer's almost over. He sat down next to him and nodded in agreement, regardless of the sudden topic change. I don't want to go to school. I mean, I would. I don't want to go to a new school. I think it'll be the same school as you and Lizzie. My dad said something about that. Cool, you're gonna like it. Everyone's super nice. He'd only ever been to the one school, but you were sure that his old school couldn't have been that much better. Then again, he did have to make new friends and meet new teachers. It could be kind of scary. Cove shook his head, then wrapped his good arm around his knees as he drew them to his chest. You heard a sniffling sound, and when you took a good look at his face, you realized his eyes were wet.
I want to go home.
You had never had to move before, but you thought you could understand. If you had to go to a new school all of a sudden, with all new people, you'd probably be dreading it too. Even though you sort of maybe understood, you still weren't sure how to help. Okay, I'll see you later? Cove gave his head a small shake. No, I want to go back home. Right. Cove wanted to go back to his old home. The one that sat waiting somewhere far from here. The one he would bring up whenever he felt this sad. It had been a while since he had moved in, but he didn't seem to feel any better about being here. He settled back down in the sand, trying to consider what to do. This can be your home. It's a really nice home if you give it a chance. Cove didn't respond to that. He just tightened his arms around his knees, resting his chin on them. You're not gonna leave, right? You'll still be around? The question was a little surprising. Of course! Your parents would have mentioned if you're going to move or something, right? After a second, Cove gave a little nod. Once I get my cast off, we could go swimming. You were fine with him changing the subject again. Yeah, that would be fun. Cove smiled, then looked back at the waves. My dad saying I'll get used to everything eventually. That I'd feel better then. It used to make me angry. I didn't want to get used to everything. You spared a glance over at Cove. You saw the anger had slipped off his face in favor of something almost puzzled. But maybe that would be okay after all. As long as I really do feel better. I can't see it. You could remember a long time ago when you first started going to school. You had absolutely not been okay with the idea of being away from your parents for most of the day. Just letting strangers tell you what to do and sit with kids you never met before. Things changing is hard. I can. Cove gave you a dubious look, and then a very slow nod. His eyes were a little misty once more. Got the feeling they were different tears than the ones before, though. I hope next summer I'll surf and go exploring and everything will feel like it's supposed to again. You will, It will. The three of you sat quietly, just taking in the sounds of the waves. You hoped that Cove would be able to accept this place as his new home. You definitely try to help, in any ways you could. There are so many wonderful things here, Cove probably hadn't even seen yet. Lost in thought, you stared a bit when you heard a faint familiar sound. It sounded your mom shouting your name. Looked over his shoulder, realizing it was probably time for dinner. Time had gone by really fast. You stood up and dusted the sand off yourself. My mom's calling. It's time for dinner. You should come. Cove looked up at you, expression screaming reluctance. Yet ultimately, okay. When you smiled, Cove returned with one of his own. Thanks. Oh, I didn't realize he was gonna finish it. No. Oh, it was nice. Where you were right then. But the two of you couldn't stay there in your own little world any longer. You were being called forward. So the both of you ran off towards your house, leaving the waves and summer behind. Aww. Aww, that's cute! In between. Oh, I'm guessing I've grown up? Oh, yep, I got acne now. Earrings. You cannot see any earrings on me. So, none. There we go. I'm still fond of him. I wouldn't say I have a crush on him yet, but... Oh! Oh! I can change what he looks like? Wait, what? Oh, we really only his hair, though. You can have that hair, you can have his messy... I like my messy hair. Oh, that's cool! I like that you can customize Cove. I like this. August ended, September began. It was time to go back to school. Lizzie groaned and complained the entire first week. She hated going to classes. Still, they were interesting to do that couldn't be done anything else. You weren't sure how Cove felt about it. He was enrolled that year, and that was like a sign Cove would be staying in Sunset Bird for a while. At school, he was alright, but he kept his distance from the other kids, from what you saw anyway. Whenever he could, teenage friendship. Achievement unlocked. Whenever he could, Cove stuck to you like glue, even if he didn't even mind that much what you did to pass the time, as long as it was together. That year, the divorce of Cove's parents was finalized. You overheard your parents talking about it, saying Cove's dad got full custody. At first, you worried that meant bad news. It meant that it had made Mr. Holden cry, apparently. Then you found out that Cove would keep living with his dad. He would only stay with his mama a few weeks of the year. Cove cried too, for different reasons, you thought. It seemed like Cove and his dad might move again, but Mr. Holden decided to stay after all. Mom asked him about it once. He said that he didn't want to uproot Cove's life a second time. Mr. Holden tried to get Cove to like Sunset Bird more. He kept encouraging his son to go out and see the place. Sometimes Mr. Holden volunteered you to spend time with Cove. He seemed very confident it was an effective strategy. Cove never talked to anyone about what happened with his parents and withdrew whenever it was brought up. It was hard for him, yet nobody knew how to help. Eventually, Cove stopped crying on his own. You couldn't understand what had changed. Still, you worried about him. You could tell he wasn't completely happy. Maybe one day he could say out loud what he felt inside. After that, it felt like things had gone back to normal. Except what was normal didn't stay the same. Years passed. Suddenly, you were in middle school. You weren't a kid anymore. You were 13 years old. So this is a 5-year time skip. Okay. That officially made you a teen, even if your sister didn't agree. The toys and crayons that used to litter every free space in your room had been packed away somewhere, replaced by new hobbies. There were other changes too. Cove's cast had gotten taken off. It was rare to see him without initially. Underneath the pink plaster ended up being a long, thin scar that snaked across his forearm. Cove's chest puffed out with pride when someone drew attention to it. He also went through a major growth spurt. He was the tallest student in his class for 2 years in a row. Cove will probably hold that spot again next time. In class, people knew for him for one thing, for more than just being tall. He also stood out because of how well he did in gym and other athletic situations. Over the years, he still remained familiar in a lot of ways. He talked to people when they came to him, but never really searched out company on his own. And the only kid that came to visit the neighborhood when you were little, Shiloh, well, he was gone. He and his mom moved back south because of her work, just 1 year after Cove came to Sunset Bird. It had been really upsetting when he left. Lizzie was inconsolable for weeks, but nobody really talked about Shiloh anymore. That was a long time ago. You learned some heartbreaking things became less sad the further away they were, even if they had gotten any better. That was sad in its own way. Things at home were different too. You lived in the same house and all that, but it wasn't how it was before. Ma dyed her hair purple, wanting something new, and liked it so much she kept dyeing it. You remember calling her mommy as a kid, but something like that seemed awkward nowadays. You were much too old for the word. Lizzie felt too mature for the nickname too, insisting everyone calling her Elizabeth. So you did. Your mom soon gave her permission to go places other than the playground and shopping street, which she took advantage of. You rarely saw her around the old neighborhood. In fact, she hardly spent time with you the way she did before. Elizabeth associated more and more with girls from school who were her own age. Maybe the difference between 13 and 15 was greater than the difference between 8 and 10. I knew it, she was 10! She was like Brad at 10 years old. You started befriending new people yourself, like Derek Suarez. He didn't live in this neighborhood or go to the same school. What happened was his and Cove's dad struck up a business partnership a few months ago. Since then, Derek would pop up in the area now and again. It seemed like Mr. Suarez was happy to let Derek tag along to his work, if Derek had the time for it. Without a doubt, everyone and everything around you had changed. In small and big ways, you had too. As time went by, though, it was easy to settle into this new normal. And before you knew it, school was over and summer vacation had come yet again. Oh, my whole thing's different. What? Oh, that's an old monitor. I like the monitor that I have right now. That's an old monitor right there. Snorkels, you got a cloak, laundry basket that needs to be taken out. Oh no, wait. No. What was it that got rid of the, screenshot. No. What's that button? What was the thing that, no. There is a specific button that takes away that. Whatever. I'm gonna quickly save though. Actually, maybe I can see from here. No. Okay, that skips. Let me go back. Configure. No, okay. Either way, it was the first day of summer vacation. The sun was as hot as ever, but you were inside and away from its harsh rays. To be more specific, you were stuck at an event celebrating your time off by sleeping in, wide awake, able to head out and enjoy your time off. I would have been sleeping in. It was hot, but you still had a blanket up over your head to block out the sun. You didn't want it intruding on your lazy morning. Unfortunately, you hadn't prepared for intrusion. From underneath the blanket, you heard the door creak open. You're still sleeping? Wow. Get up. Go away. By the patient tapping her foot, you could tell she hadn't left. Get up now. I will come over there. So much for a lazy morning. Mom told me to tell you your friend is at the door. He brought some happy summer gift from Mr. Holden. Mom wants you to take it from him. Say thanks or whatever. So come down already. Alright, you little brat. Really? That's great. I'm coming. She said nothing and left, having done with what she was instructed of her. He rolled out of bed, stretching her arms up high and yawning. Time to get ready. See, I was the oldest. I was the only child for like 8 years, so like, I didn't have this kind of interactions with siblings. So like, I have no idea how this goes, at all. You sat yourself in front of a mirror in the far corner of your room. See, I'm 6 foot. I'm 5'11", 6 foot, so I'm gonna say I'm tall, but I'm pretty tall. Cove tended to be the only person around who was even taller, at least among teens your own age. I liked my height. It suited you well in your mind. Then you put the finishing touches on your outfit. While ruminating on the situation, careless as they had been, Elizabeth's words piqued your curiosity. You planned on going to see what was Cove up to, so this worked in your favor. Your reflection grinned back at you. You were looking forward to seeing him. They left the room, taking an easy time down the stairs. Step 2. Second chance. You spotted Mom first, reclining on the couch. She held a magazine in her hands while she was pursuing through. Morning, Mom. She looked up at your greeting, a smile instantly appearing on her face.
Thanks.
Wow, she looks so much different. She put her hair up in her bun, she took off her glasses, and she's wearing something completely different. Good morning, Rose. Thank you for coming down. Ma's at the door with Cove. He can't stay over today, unfortunately. Why don't you go and thank him before he leaves? You nodded and made your way to the front of the house. Just as she said, Ma was there making conversation. Must have heard you because she looked over her shoulder.
Oh.
Look, you finally made it. Morning, sleepyhead. Ma reached forward and you knew she was about to pat you on the head. She was taller than the average adult woman, so you were still little in her eyes, despite being big for your own age. I'd happily let her do it. I love my mom. I love both of my moms. That type of small, affectionate exchange was nice. She placed her whole hand on top of your head for a second before lifting it back up. Ah, you're the last one down today. You know what? Morning. That's all? You really are a sleepyhead right now. With a small laugh, Ma stepped aside. Yeah. Cove was just as you remembered, exactly how you came to know him by be. He leaned uncomfortably to the side of the doorway as his bushy hair covered part of his face. His features were pinched in embarrassment as he shifted from one foot to the other. He was holding what must have been the much talked about gift. At first glance, you figured it was a bouquet of flowers. Then you gave it a real look. No, instead it was carefully cut fruit. Oh, it's a fruit bouquet. Oh, that's nice. It made a lot of sense that it was actually from Cove's dad. I had to suppress a laugh at this showing. You couldn't imagine many folks buying that sort of thing on their own for their own personal enjoyment. The kind of arrangement was built for the presentation, likely to impress whoever was inevitably going to receive it. It seemed no matter how long he lived here, Mr. Holden would keep going out of his way to be neighborly, and Cove would always be roped into participating. Poor Cove. Cove smiled at the sight of you. The sting of his goofy errand, he was clearly embarrassed to be uneased. Hey, Rose. He smiled back. It was second nature to you. Cove had always been such a close friend, ever since the two of you were kids. Hey, it's nice to see you. Yeah, you too. Your grin widened even more. Every time he came, your mood was brightened. It was already shaping up to be another long summer with plenty of time for the two of you to have fun together. His awkwardness over the task started to creep back, and the Cove nudged the gift closer to you. He was ready to be relieved of it. And with that, the gift was accepted. This thing was definitely Dad's idea. I would have gone for something else, but you can't eat it all. I wouldn't mind taking a couple skewers. But if you can't eat it all, I wouldn't mind taking a couple skewers. He smiled, looking amused at the gift, then back to you. You called that one. You are too cute sometimes. Rose. Just think for my dad after all this. Just think of my dad for all this, okay? Alright. Mr. Holden's behavior was really was different from any neighbor you'd ever had. Though, after 5 years, you were used to his antics, and you'd since made up your mind on what your opinion was. He was nice, he was sort of funny, he was pretty weird, you don't like him, he was great, and he was kinda handsome. No! I mean, yeah, he's handsome, but like, I wouldn't think that. I think he was weird. But he was funny. He's funny weird. Sometimes that could be a good thing, but other times it was a bad thing. Your thoughts were quickly interrupted by a shout. There you are! You shared a confused glance with Cove, as both of you stepped through the open door onto the neighborhood street. It didn't take you long to locate the source of the noise. You spotted Derek just a few yards down the road. He ran up to you. Confused. You had expected to see Derek today, though you never really knew when he'd appear. Oh! Football fan. He stopped a couple steps away. After stopping a couple steps away, Derek hunched over to catch his breath. Then he looked up with a wide grin. Hey, guy and gal. I was just at your house, Cove, but no one was there. Should have figured it'd be at Rose's place. Do you ever spend time in your own home, or are you always just here? Derek laughed at his own joke. He either didn't notice that it embarrassed Cove, or the embarrassment was what he was actually laughing at. Derek turned to you. He was going to say more, but when his eyes widened, he gasped. What's that? You followed his gaze, unsure. Then you realized what he meant. You were still holding Mr. Holden's gift. This? Oh, it's a bouquet of flowers, but made out of fruit.
Nice.
Can I have some?
Nice.
Sure, we can share. Dirk got more excited by her words, bouncing on the balls of his feet. Awesome! Then he nodded his head, as if to clear it. Anyway, that's right, I came here because I needed to say something big. He paused, possibly for effect. Pause. For effect. The only other thing I can think of is, tonight, we are going to steal. Pause. For effect. The moon! There's some other kid here in Sunset Bird. Cove was as surprised as you were at the news. Such a reaction made sense. No one around your age had moved here since Cove did 5 years ago. Were they with their family? Maybe they were cutting through. Nuh-uh. The new kid was all by himself, just walking. Did you talk to him? Nope. I came to report the sighting right away. Kid had green hair, glasses, was pretty small, didn't seem really upset about something. I hoped he didn't leave. You blinked, slowly looked over to your longtime neighbor. That sounds like you, Cove, when you first got here anyway. Oh, yeah, I guess that was me back then. Derek snickered good-naturedly. I can see that really well, now that you say so. What do you say? Let's go find Cove's lookalike. We should all meet him. I'll do it. Sure, I want to see who this person is. Derek grinned, then he pointed down the street the way he came. Last I saw him, the mystery person was going in this direction. Nothing else needed to be said. The three of you were off, with Derek leading the way. Derek brought you to the beach, and as a trio you made your way down the shore to the old playground. You walked the familiar path in a comfortable silence. When you were almost there, you spotted the kid in question. His bright colors almost shone like a beacon beneath the rays of sun. He scuffled around, kicking sand as he paced. It was true, he certainly seemed upset, but you didn't think he was sad, like you had originally pictured. No, with his erratic movements and scrunched up expression, he came off angry. Oh no, he angry. He angry, guys, he angry. You started to have doubts about this expedition. Maybe it'd be better if you left him alone, and let him sort himself out. You shared a look with Cove. He was equally reluctant to start up a conversation. Derek didn't feel the same. He waved wildly, calling out to the boy. Hey, guy! Over here! This is not how I imagined the kid at all. This kid looks like Weevil Underwood from the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. The kid whipped around, an impressive scowl carving deeper onto his face. His eyes were tired, but a strong, hostile energy still radiated from him. What? What is it? What do you want? A sharp tone made Derek flinch, sit on his feet. What's your name? Jeremy. Was that it? No. I'm Derek. This is Rosen Cove. We just walked around and saw you. We wanted to say hi. Not a lot of kids our age in this neighborhood. Yeah, so, you know, it's cool to see someone else here. Strangely, Jeremy grew furious by your assault. If steam could erupt from a person's ears, it would have happened then. They did bring me somewhere stupid. Of course. They did bring me somewhere stupid. Of course. I knew it. What?
My parents.
They're the ones who brought me here. I didn't walk to this town. Can you not figure that out on your own?
Right.
Right. My dad brings me to Summerside Sunset Bird too, when he has to come for work and all that. It's not bad. That earned a glare from Jeremy. Derek winced from it, glancing away. It was a struggle to remain friendly with this Jeremy guy. I mean, I wouldn't come here for a real vacation probably either. That's an understatement. Stop it. That's an understatement. This doesn't count as a vacation. It's a waste of time. A chore. My parents' family is nearby. We just had to come to see them. Ugh. If they're your parents' family, doesn't that make them your family too?
I guess.
This kid is an asshole. That's a pretty good reason to come by. Did you want to go somewhere else? No! Jeremy crossed his arms with a puff. He turned away. They should have gone by themselves since they cared so much and left me home. But I'm not allowed to be by myself. It makes no sense. They're the ones who don't know how to do anything, and I'm the kid? Peter's I'm dying. Peter, you're serious this morning. That's probably the best response I have seen in this VisNov so far. I kind of want to. Who peed in your cereal this morning? Jeremy's lips curled as his face contorted from anger to horror. Why would you think something like that? You're disgusting. It's just an expression. He took a deep breath. He thought it was for one hopeful second that he was calming himself down. He was not. So what? You're putting it in people's heads. I don't want to have to think about it, and and someone brainless might decide it's a good idea and actually do it. There are some real stupids out there in the world, you know. You're all living proof of that. Hey, we're not stupid. I'm smarter than you are. How are you going to prove that when you're just saying one moronic thing after another? You turn to Cove, lowering her voice. The two of you aren't that similar after all. Jeremy must have had good hearing, though, because he caught the private exchange and scoffed. Oh, of course we're not similar. My eyebrows aren't stupid. Hope's cheeks flushed crimson at the insult. You couldn't be sure if it was out of embarrassment or anger. Maybe both. Come on. No, Cole's baby eyebrows are so cool. How can you say that when you've got a bowl cut? Yep, it's embarrassing and awful, but my parents made me do it. I won't have it when I'm older. I don't know what he's gonna do with those things, except maybe shave them off. He probably should. I bet he looks a stone with no eyebrows. I am not going to tag him. You're getting really tired of this. Wow, what is wrong with you? Instead of taking offense, Jeremy only parroted Derek's words as an nasal voice. Wow, what's wrong with you? Wah, wah. This is dumb. He stuck out his tongue and sulked away, throwing more sand everywhere as he went. You watched him go, hunched over, until he became a speck in your vision. Silence reigned in his wake. The three of you tried to process what just happened. I can't believe it. What a mean kid. That kid was an asshole! Derek wasn't kidding. And by the sound of those early complaints, the new boy Jeremy was going to be in the area for at least a little while this summer. Derek sat in dismay, plopping onto the ground. You followed, and Cove did too shortly after. There wasn't much else to do.
Sucks.
I was hoping we could meet someone fun, hang out maybe. He shook his head. After a moment, he slowly turned to you with a hopeful expression. But, you know what really improved the day? What? He didn't respond. Instead, he used a hand to point, right at the fruit arrangement you were still holding. Why am I still holding the fruit salad? Why am I still holding the fruit salad? I've been holding it this whole time. You could have forgotten about it during the mini-drama that unfolded. Had gotten used to its weight. Yeah, why am I still holding it? Shouldn't I have left it out the house? Glancing over to Cove, you noticed he was eyeing the fruit. He must want some too. Why not? Let's eat. Derek pricked up immediately at your words. He reached out for his skewer, hesitating slightly once he was inches away. He nodded. With an eager grin, he plucked out a prime row of fruits. Cove grabbed for himself. Only you were without a skewer of your own. Melon. I'm a sucker for watermelon. Watermelons are my favorite fruit out of everything. Watermelons and grapes and apples. Those are my top 3 fruits. The melon was cut to look like a star. It was the obvious first choice. Derek ate a pineapple skewer enthusiastically, and finishing with the moans. This is amazing! It's not different from any other normal fruit. Kinda worse. These have been out in the open with their skin soft for a while. Sheesh. Hey, you two remember the Land Before Time? The fruit thing makes me think of it. All the dinosaurs all liked the leaves that were shaped like stars. Yes! Yes! Land Before Time reference. The movie that made every child cry. Three stars. Yeah. Chopping leaves looked so delicious when they did it. And then there's the scene with the pretty trees and all the dinosaurs came in and picked everything off until there was nothing. That's us right now. Awesome. I love that movie. I do. That movie's amazing. I love that movie. Me too. The three of you continued like this for the next few minutes. Eventually, the display was barren. It looked weird when devoid of fruit. Hey! We weren't supposed to be all of it. Really? You couldn't stop for some sighing at the boys. You just wanted to eat some and have a nice time. Now you're probably going to get in trouble. You can only accept it though. Hey Rose. Yeah? The two of you met eyes casually. That was pretty cool. What he said back at that guy. Oh, Thanks. I was just saying what I thought. Derek chimed in while in high spirits. You totally owned him. I don't know what his parents say, but it's good at least someone is around to tell him what's what. Yeah. Derek then leaned back on his arms. He contemplated the sky with a content sigh. So, are you both ready for summer break? Yeah, definitely. Cool on you. Wish kids the same. It still feels like a lot to plan for. What about you, Cove? Are you ready? I think that depends. Before I could say anything else, the light atmosphere was shattered. Rose! You guys have her shoulders to your sister. She strode closer and closer, appearing none too pleased. I've been looking all over for you. Ma said you and Cove ran off with the thing Mr. Holden brought for us. She leered over at you, arms folded. So, where is it? Well, it's gone. What do you mean, gone? You moved over to the side to face her completely. She zeroed in on the bouquet in your hands, which is now populated exclusively with skewers dripping in juice and tiny flecks of leftover fruit pieces. Her mouth dropped open and a tone of her voice rose. Seriously, Rose? What were you thinking? It was supposed to be for all of us. She glanced at Cove, who sat beside you, and continued mockingly. Even if you did have an in with a delivery boy, that was up to Mr. Holden. Cove gave a bent smile, which didn't help disapprove her accusation. Get over it. Get over it, you brat. Elizabeth narrowed her eyes, not at all okay with that kind of response. Oh no, I think I hear the Minka coming back. We better get out of here. Elizabeth blinked, confused and looked around. What kid? I don't see one. Derek didn't bother explaining. He just launched to his feet and ran off. Cove topped up too, gladly taking the opportunity to exit the situation. He followed Derek, but he sent a look to you from over his shoulder. You turned to watch Elizabeth. She'd hear back, brow raised. I'm running! Without a word, you two got to your feet and bolted down the beach. Unimpressed, Elizabeth rolled her eyes. Wow, that coming from the sociopathic brat. She shook her head and walked toward the house, not bothering whatsoever to follow. Meanwhile, the three of you made it back to the shoreline. Derek pumped his fist, grinning in triumph. We escaped and shall live to see another day. Victory! You threw your arms up in celebration. You chuckled together, walking further toward down the beach side by side. You definitely wanted to stay outside a little while longer. Later that night, you found yourself seated near the kitchen counter. You had gotten a bit of scolding from your moms for not saving any of Mr. Holden's gifts for Elizabeth, but you didn't get any real punishment for it. Instead, while you were out with the boys, Elizabeth returned home to share the news. The three of them went to get dessert on their own. It was declared even by your parents when everyone got back that the event was settled. That was a little while ago now. Your fingers drummed on the surface you walked. Your gaze turned on the phone. You were waiting on a call tonight, specifically from your cousin Leandra. You didn't want to miss it accidentally. Your uncle, aunts, and Lee used to live many hours away. Your families only saw each other a few times a year for big occasions. A while back, though, they moved and were closer to you than ever before. Now you hung out regularly. With school being out, you were positive she's going to come over a lot. The two of you were the same age and got along well. She used to be really fond of Elizabeth too, but now that your sister had become allergic to interacting with her own family, it tended to just be you and Lee who spent time together. See, growing up, I spent more time around girls than I did guys. And then when I got to high school, by the time I was like 15, that was when I started spending more time with guys than girls. But I had like an even mix of guy friend and girlfriends. I had lots of girlfriends. You often gravitated towards other girls and befriended them pretty easily. I said a lot of non-girlfriends. What kind of gender someone didn't seem to make any difference in who you got along with. Yeah! Then the shrill ringtone announced an incoming call. You jumped before grabbing the receiver and pressing it to your ear. Harbor Residence, Rose speaking. You're greeted by a distorted, high-pitched giggle. Why do you sound so weird? Mom answers phones like that sometimes. It's supposed to be polite. You should go with hi. That was something a robot would say. There was static on the end, as if Flea was shifting wherever she was. So can you believe school's finally over? I thought it'd never be done. Now we don't have to do any of the boring stuff, and we get to hang out whenever we want. Speaking of hanging out... Lee, can you wait a second? Let me head to my room. Oh yeah. You got up from your seat at the counter. Luckily, the phone was wireless, so you didn't have to worry about any cords tying you down. That's not fun though. It's fun to walk around with the receiver in one hand and the dock in the other, walking around and carefully walking around, making sure you're not, tying yourself together. Tying yourself down on like chairs and tables. Dude, that was the fun of landlines. Your mom had a rule about not moving the phone unless the call was in progress, which was why you had to sit by its cradle while waiting for Lee to call. It makes sense because having the phone off the charger while you're just waiting for the phone, again, drains the battery. So if you wanted to charge the battery, you'd have to hang up, and that would be really annoying. We have to keep everything in its proper place. That's not the reason I said it for, but okay. But now that Lee had called, it was okay for you to go upstairs to your bedroom and talk to her. You made your way up the stairs smiling. After you had arrived, you shut the bedroom door firmly behind you and took a seat in your bed. Alright, I'm here. Cool. Hey, did you know the girl down the street from me has her own phone now? A cell phone. She doesn't have to wait for someone else to stop using it or anything. Wow, really? The thought of someone having a phone that was all their own seemed unbelievable to you. Oh, so we're in like the early 2000s. Judging by the computer on the desk and the fact that we still have a landline, and they're talking about cell phones like this now, we're in like the we're in like the late 90s, early 2000s, it looks like. Before the era of video games that kept every child inside. Right? I wish I had one too, but my parents said I couldn't get one until I'm more grown up. I wish they changed their mind. We could call each other every single day, and no one will be able to stop us. How great would that be? But wouldn't I still be able to use a home phone? Mom was able to stop us if they wanted. Lee laughed. You didn't put a dampener on her imagination. Oh, then you have your own phone too. That works. She sighed dramatically. I bet I'm not gonna get one until I'm all the way in college. Squeezing the phone between your shoulders and your ear, you puffed up your pillows and made yourself comfy. It was funny to think of a time when normal school would be over and you'd have to choose whether or not to go to college. To be fair, that's like 5 years away from where these girls are. From where these guys are. From where these people are. School was such a big part of your life right now. See, I barely tried, and I didn't do bad. Coasting by had become routine for you. Teachers had warned you that you wouldn't be able to do that forever, but you figured it was enough for now. A lot of pressure. Grades weren't the most important thing, no matter how good or bad they ended up being. Yeah, you tried to sound engaged, but your mind had decided to go back to school despite the season. Lee knew you too well to be fooled. You sound so spacey. What's up? Just thinking about school. Lee groaned. Aren't you Stop. Aren't you thinking about how we don't have to think because it's summer? That's what I'm doing. Let's make a petition for more vacation time. Yeah, everyone in class was signing. Maybe some teachers too. Though I guess school isn't all the way bad. You can do some things. You can do some good things there. You can just do more when school's out. Lucky, mine's boring. See, I don't like gym, but I do like learning new things. I just wish everyone did okay with how they taught things, not just some people. It's the easiest way to hang out with people not in the neighborhood. We didn't go to school. If I didn't go to school, I'd never meet anyone new. No one really comes here. Uh-huh. Gym is not... I hate gym. Hey, gym was my least favorite. That's pretty much everything that's good about school. Okay, point taken. Now I decree the topic of school is officially closed. We have to talk about summer first before plotting the rest of our lives. I got some plans already. Ooh, tell me. I'm gonna visit my cousins. You chuckled, of course. What's something you want to do? The first thing that comes to your head. Spend time with people, got some new art supplies, reading, gonna catch up on movies and TV, probably spend time at the beach. I don't really do anything else. Vacation. Beach, yeah. We live near the beach. Go to the beach. I could have guessed that one. You lean back in your bed, settling in as you continue chatting with your friend. Even though it hadn't been that long since you saw her, you'd be seeing her soon, and you found plenty to talk about. For one, the events of the day. You sat up straighter. I was with Cove and Derek today, and we met a new kid. Like, at your neighborhood? Mm-hmm. His parents are visiting family, so it sounds like he'll be around for a little while. I don't know how long. What was he like? Mean. He kept snapping when all we were trying to do was talk to him. He just kept being rude to everyone. But especially Cove. It was awful. I don't think I want to meet him. You want a boy to stay away before even meeting him? That's an unexpected twist. Your cousin was pretty popular with the boys who knew her. She seemed happy enough to have him around, until they started to annoy her. Who are you to talk? Cove and Derek are always around. They're both boys, you know. That is not the same. Leave after your rejection and idea, deeply amused. Even though she couldn't see you, she shook her head. You shook her head at her, grinning to yourself. Your stomping noise approaching your room, heralding the arrival of your irritated older sister. She flung the door open, a frown etched on her face. How long are you going to hog up the phone? Glancing at her watch, you realized that your quick call had gone much longer than anticipated. Elizabeth held out her hand, the other one lodged on her hip. She noticed the realization on your face. Time's up. Good to go. I'll see you soon, okay? Bye. Okay, see you. Tell Elizabeth your mom's I said hi too. Really pressed the end call button. Elizabeth whisked the handset from your fingers and began dialing someone new as she strode out of the room. Mom's voice called from downstairs. Hey, has anyone seen the phone? I'm using it. With that, she shut your door behind you. Silence was left in the wake. That was one way to end your first day of summer break. Sometime later, it had gotten dark outside. You laid your bed awake. Your window rattled all of a sudden, startling you badly. You flinched, staring over at it with furrowed brows. From a vantage point, you only saw the moon in the open sky. You were curious. What had caused that noise? Cocking your head, you sat up and moved closer to the window. You wanted to get to the bottom of this. To your utter shock, your gaze was met by a pair of familiar ocean blue eyes. Cove? You squinted. Yep, Cove was right outside your window. Your house is very angular, and some parts stuck out further than others, so it was theoretically wouldn't be hard to climb around on. Still, just because someone could didn't mean you expected it ever to happen. To his credit, Cove was doing fine. His feet were braced against a section of the wall that jutted out, his arms flexing with the effort to keep him upright. He easily lifted a hand and waved at you from the other side of the glass. You hurriedly opened the window. Cove climbed over the ledge, releasing the breath once he was safely inside. Hi, Rose. What's up, Romeo? I needed to talk to you and couldn't wait until tomorrow. If I rang the doorbell, I knew your mom would answer and then just make me go home. I didn't really want to explain why I was coming over anyway. I didn't want to talk about it. Well, besides with you, I mean, but that's why I did that. As unexpected as this was, you were touched by that Cove felt like he could tell you what was wrong. I might have tried calling or something, except my dad is on the phone. Cove suddenly looked very cross. Dad, he was talking with my mom. Still is probably. You raised your eyebrow. Cove had eavesdropped on his parents' phone conversation. There were other things to talk about. Are you gonna stay with your mom for a while again? Every year, Cove was sent off to live with his mom for a few weeks. When it happened varied. Sometimes he would go during winter break, but usually he went during summer. Even though it was hard news, when he found out he was leaving and you missed seeing him those weeks, you understood. To his surprise, however, he shook his head. That's what I thought too. But no, that's not what they were saying. My dad asked my mom not to have me leave this year. He said she could come stay with us here. We waited for him to continue. He didn't. The conversation suddenly dropped off. You couldn't help but stare at Cove. There was a complicated mix of expressions on his face. What did your mom say? She told him she'd come. I know she's coming soon, before school starts. Oh. You heard Cove talk about his mom a lot over the years. He'd tell you about past memories or what happened while he was visiting her. Still, it was one thing to hear about someone and another to actually meet them. Very soon, you were going to see Cove's mom in person. You felt taken aback by the news, so you can only imagine how Cove felt. He looked overhead. He was pacing across the room, his features pained with dread. Before they'd barely stay in the same room long enough to have lunch. Now we're gonna be all together again. 3 of us, after all this time, just for a few weeks. I know I should probably be happy they can talk to each other now. I'm still not. I'm just confused and freaked out, and now I feel really bad for feeling this way. It's so... His fist tightened and his eyes became misty. I shouldn't keep getting like this. It's been a long time already, and I'm not a little kid. Though he wouldn't meet your eyes, you knew he was waiting for you to say something. There's nothing wrong with feeling bad. This is hard to deal with. Cove sniffled. You were afraid he might start crying, but he didn't. Instead, he smiled. See? Now I feel kind of better. Visiting like this wasn't a bad idea. A momentary silence fell over the two of you. You marveled at how they started. You were woken up eager for summer vacation. By now, things seemed so crazy. The mini debacle with Mr. Holden's gift, the new addition to the neighborhood being so rude, as if it all wasn't enough, now Cove's mom would be living with Cove and his dad again. Your whole life was kind of like that, it seemed. Complicated and hard and different. Why couldn't things just get better with time? Rose? The sound of your name said quietly pulled you from your thoughts. Cove gazed at you, concerned.
Are you okay?
Who? Me? I'm more worried about you. You don't have to forget about yourself for me. I want to listen to you too. Cove grinned reassuringly. It was small and delicate, but you knew it was genuine. Oh, jeez. I genuinely really like Cove. In 5 years, he has grown so much. Like, before, he could barely get out more than one complete sentence, and now he's Not only is he forming like complete thoughts, but he's also trying to get others to open up, not just himself. Ah. I mean, I'm gonna have feelings for this kid, aren't I? He had come here conflicted of sin, only ended up worrying about you. And he really was a great friend. You know, I don't think I want to talk about it anymore this time. He looked away, his thin lips turning into a line, and rubbing his arms. But I kind of don't want to go back home either. Could I stay a little longer, just doing something else? He appeared equal parts hopeful and vulnerable. How could you possibly turn him away? We're gonna flash in some cards. Are you in? You tilted your head, waiting patiently for his answer. Cole perked up at your response. A smile appeared on his face. He immediately took a seat on your bed, not afraid to get comfortable in your room. He was a little better at the sight somehow. You've still a lot of worries, but you were glad he was here. And not just that, and not just tonight. You were glad he came into your life in the first place. That was a change you would never want to undo. It felt totally natural to let him into your little world. That initial friendship had deepened so much over these past years, and you were certain there was room to get even closer. You joined Cove in your bed, taking a seat across from him. He smiled at you again, but you could tell this time it was half-hearted. He was still easy to read. He didn't want to talk about his mom and dad. He must be thinking about what happened and what's about to happen. I'm gonna hug him. You moved closer and wrapped your arms around him. It wasn't much, while he hoped the contact helped even a little. Cove froze up, startled. After a moment, his arms came up and you returned your hug. The two of you remained like that for some time. He might have mumbled something to you, but he's too quiet to tell what it was. When you pulled back, his expression had softened to something more natural. Conversation was stilted and broken often by silence at first. Then both of you were able to get into your usual candor. As your secret hangout session stretched on, you thought that you truly wanted to keep having moments like this with him. You'd hoped a day would never come when life decided the two of you would have to part ways. And you knew Cove felt the same. Oh, these kids are so cute! I love this game! I love this VisNov so much! You opened your tired eyes, groaning as they adjusted to the bright light that was streaming through the window and warming your tan skin. With a loud yawn, you rolled away from the sunlight and blinked a couple of times, clearly clearing the sleep from your eyes, before realizing with a start that it was actually morning. You couldn't even remember falling asleep. Cove had crept through your window during the night, and the two of you spent time together, trying not to wake your parents. You must have fallen asleep while you were hanging out, but couldn't put a finger on exactly when. You wondered how late Cove had stayed before heading home. You rubbed your face and yawned again, contemplating whether you should get out of bed and get ready for the day, or stay snuggled up a while longer. So your gaze met on an instantly recognizable mop of pale green hair, and you bolted upright and gasping in surprise. He never left! He was still there in the morning! Wait, what? Wait! You'd fallen asleep while sitting on the ground and precariously around his head inside of your mattress. When, with your laugh, Cove's eyes snapped open and his head slipped from his source of support. He didn't stop going down until he smacked right into the floor with a crack. You clamped your hand to your mouth and looked down at him with wide eyes curled up with it where he had landed rather ungracefully. Ow! Are you okay? You winced at his tumble, hoping no one else in the house had heard it either with your outburst. Yeah, I'm alright. Cove rubbed his forehead a little, and you weren't sure if that was entirely true. If either of your moms found out Code had slept here last night, the two of you would be in big trouble. Cole blinked at you a couple times, his eyes growing a panic as some thought he could hear that only he could hear settle in his mind. Oh my god, I fell asleep! You weren't exactly sure what to do as you watched Cove pace your room. He looked around apprehensively. Cove's hands flew to his face, letting out a sigh of relief as he found his glasses were right where they were supposed to be. Despite that, he hadn't calmed down completely. The atmosphere was still frazzled. Touch down before Moms hear you. Cove nodded, his shoulders tensed as he fixed you with a firm stare of his turquoise eyes. Letting out a heavy sigh, he ran a hand through his hair in exasperation. He couldn't look at you again as he spoke. I'll see you later. You were confused at how all this had played out, but hoped that it was true. Right. Bye, Cove. At that, you were suddenly wrapped in a tense embrace. As panicked as he was, this seemed to be something he couldn't forget before leaving. Thanks, again. You're a good friend, Rose. He friendly whispered those words into the tops of your shoulders. But you were let go before you had a chance to respond or even fully react. In a matter of seconds, he climbed over your bed, over the window. A cool breeze rolled off the ocean, and fluttering through Cove's hair and filling your room with its salty scent. Cove fearlessly stepped out onto the ledge. Wish him luck. Good luck. Be super careful. You weren't sure if he heard you or not, but he kept going along, one foot in front of the other, and with increasing speed, until his form disappeared out of sight. You stuck your head out the window as far as you tried to keep watch. He walked the full length of the ledge before jumping down on top of the garage, then lowering himself onto the fence. From there, he finally dropped down to the ground. He threw out a thumbs up at his successful climb. He ran off towards his house without stopping, disappearing behind the side of another building. He had to admit, you were pretty impressed at how doable he made that look. With a little sigh, you reclosed your window. Deciding there was nothing more you could do, you hopped off your bed and decided to head downstairs for the day. Nah, but you're straightening up. Yeah, making your bed is probably the safe thing to do before you get out of bed, after you get out of bed in the morning. You took the stairs, slowly attempting to mask your face into a look of innocence. You were sure that someone would have come into your room if they had heard anything strange, but you couldn't be too careful. You had played it cool. You stepped out into the living room. Elizabeth was there, tapping your finger on the counter. Good morning, Elizabeth. She looked over you immediately, her eyes squinting at the grinning. Why are you being so weird? I haven't even done anything. Bitches never missed a beat, unfortunately. Turned off her tight smile and her lips pursed even more together. Rose? I'm not. You spoke so nonchalantly, you almost thought she believed you. But you knew better. Further suspicious squinting occurred as she waited for something. But ultimately she rolled her eyes, and you weren't sure if you were in trouble or not. She didn't seem to care enough to dig any further. Whatever. And then she walked straight out the front door, letting it slam shut behind her, and you let out a brief sigh. Elizabeth went out most days to hang out with her friends from school around town. So you were extra glad for it, though you were grateful she hadn't left the house any sooner, risking running into Cove. It looked like you were getting away with that. Breakfast was eaten in peace and alone. Moms were both out by the time you gotten up. They left you a serving of food from the breakfast they made. Hash browns, an omelet, fruit salad, and there were a few sausage links. Bit of everything. Those are actually honestly all really good. It was tasty. You appreciated that there was variety in your meals your moms made. The day lazily drifted by at home, and eventually your parents returned. You pulled open the fridge again, lingering in the frosty air the moment or two before grabbing a bottle of ice-cold water and taking a long drink. It was perfect. It was a perfect balmy summer afternoon, and you decided to head outdoors and find something to do. You hadn't decided what that something was just yet, but you were sure something would pop up to occupy your time. As you were heading out the front door, you paused for a moment. You hadn't seen Cove since he had left that morning, and you couldn't help but think about what had happened to him. Would it be bad to go over his house right now, or call him to check in? You stepped out of your house, still stuck in the internal debate with yourself, when a voice caught your attention. Hi, Rose. Confused, look over where an unrecognizable woman was waving at you. A friendly smile flashed on her face. You racked your memory for where you might have seen her before, but nothing came to mind. Not from your school or from the country club where your moms took you to. You had absolutely no idea who that woman was. The woman crossed the road to get to you, and you were a little unsure whether you should stay put or go back in the house and lock the door. She looks like Mr. Holden. She looks like Cove's dad. Except with light... Is that green or is that blonde? I'm colorblind. I can't see shit. Oops, I'm sorry. Was that presumptuous? I've heard about you, but you have no idea who I am, do you? You shook your head and she removed his sunglasses to his sparkly ocean blues. Oh, yep, this is Cove's mom. All of a sudden, she seemed a lot more familiar. My son lives here, and my ex too. With a bent smile, she lifted a hand to point the condo across the street from your house. She was Cove's mom. You didn't know why you hadn't realized sooner, now that you've gotten a good look at her. She felt so different to Cove. In the time you had been around her, she had given off a totally different impression than Cove did. No matter your thoughts on her, you still felt taken aback that she had appeared here so suddenly. Cove mentioned she was coming, but you hadn't gotten the impression that it would be the very next day. So you extended a hand again. This time for you to take it. You studied the manicured fingers in front of your face, and the assortment of bracelets that dangled from her wrist. I don't know if I'm gonna like her, just from what I can see. I'm Kyra Priest. You can call me Kyra. And with that, I'm gonna call it here. I am tired. It is almost 4 in the morning, and I still need to put my pizza in the fridge. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time, I guess.